deal? Like
Yeah,
Santana?
he did all the hits. He opened up with Black Magic Woman or something, or Oh You Como Va, but then he went into their Angels All Around Us and played a couple licks on the guitar, and then, Jesus Is With You and all, and we're like, dude, the nitrous is calling us, if anything. That's what we're doing.
Classic.
So we hang out at Merriweather, we're fine. We get back to my townhouse.
No.
We're in the parking lot sucking more gas. Right? Next thing I know, 3 cops pull up. So I take off running, and this other guy's standing there, and he's like, he ends up taking the
Oh yeah, we're rolling.
So ridiculous.
So fucking typical, I don't know what to do.
Kevin starts talking, we're like, cut him off.
I know, he hasn't gotten through a cold open story yet.
Welcome, everybody, back to the lot. We have a great episode, a stellar episode. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this might be one of our best lineups. I mean, they're all good.
We say that every week.
top 10.
Every week.
It's got to be in the top 10.
It's got to be in the top 10 in episode number 7.
And we just had goats. I mean, so
Right.
I mean, come on.
This has to be the second best lineup we've had.
The best one without goats.
So, of course, what I'm talking about, and the reason why we're going to have maybe an extra few people, is we have Fan RP coming on, which is phenomenal and exciting. We also have Brian Ries, who I believe it's Ries. We'll have to ask him. And then at some point, we may have this lyricist stop by and hang out for a little
Amphibian.
bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. We'll have the one and only Mr. Tom Marshall stop by and hang out on the lot. So,
You know what? I bet there's another guy named Tom Marshall out there.
yeah, but he's not the Tom Marshall.
Well, I know, but you said
He
one
has a
and only,
certified
and, like,
check. Although his handle on like Twitter and Facebook has like 3 or 4 ones after it, and I was wondering, I was like, he was
late. He was late to getting
Right.
Tom Marshall at Tom
Late.
Marshall.
and also I was wondering how we can get a certified check mark. I don't want to be confused for other Wooks out there.
There's some hoops to jump through.
I think they stopped giving them out. I think they after a while they stopped doing blue check marks for a minute. You had to be like super special to get one. Like when Phish Sirius XM got it, people were like, "Wow, handing out a blue check already," because it's kind of like a thing now.
I think that they tell laymen and like the lowly people that it's not a thing anymore. But if you're like connected with the Illuminati, they're like, here you go.
They got
Here's
The
your
Illuminati?
blue check. Yeah,
I ended up.
that's a thing.
I got
Yeah.
a guy with my same name who is a some motivational speaker, and then there's the quarterback who played for Stanford, who ended up.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
the
NFL,
Grant
who has
Wen
my
of
same
47.
name. Right, and I feel like such an idiot because I was on social media when all that shit started, and I didn't take my own name. I came up with stuff I thought was cool instead of fucking grabbing the fucking name like I should have.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Twitter is when people slide into my DMs thinking I'm the lead singer of Nickelback.
What's his name? Is it
It's
the same
Kroger. No, it's
Kroger,
the
yeah.
same, but it's with an O instead of a U. But you know,
I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that's mostly negative sliding, right? Like they're not
yeah,
in there.
it is. Yeah, it is. And I always respond back with, "Yeah, I suck. I really do," or whatever. You know, I just agree with them.
I am
You know-
literally the worst.
Yeah.
Nickelback sold out that arena. Trump only got 6,000 people at.
Oh,
The Wiggles sold out that
The
arena.
Wiggles sold it. And Sha-na-na.
so one thing you might notice if you're watching out there is that we are down to a 5 spot right now. Our trusty Mr. Llama, Mr. Ghost Llama, is
He had
he's
to
on
go.
vacation. No, I was gonna go that route, but I
I
decided.
know. No. He's off camping in beautiful Rockies somewhere. And
How pissed? I know I had a buddy who got married and they chose the wedding date like a year in advance, and it turned out to be like during a Phish festival or something like that, and he was like devastated, right? And I feel like that's how Llama must feel for this episode, right? This is kind of a big deal for us. It's a good episode.
he
And
said
he
if he found cell reception, he was going to try to come in, right?
Yeah, and I told him not to because we don't need another Kevin reprise where it's just like,
Well, he can
The
boot
thing
him if
is,
that happens, but we got to give him a shot.
He planned it because he thought Tom was going to be on a couple weeks ago when we had to when we didn't do the
Postpone,
show
yeah.
because of
yeah.
George Floyd and all that.
And all that. Matt?
And all that jazz.
No, I'm sorry. I was just pointing to my sign up here. It did look like I wanted to
Oh.
talk. That was like my
Oh, yeah.
finger that I was
Usually when you
pointing
have
to
one
Black
finger
Lives
up, you're either
Matters.
asking for a miracle or you want to
Exactly.
I'm gonna miss Llama tonight though. I like having him around, but that's all right. I think T is up for the manning the chat tonight, and we'll be all right. We'll hang in
We'll be
there.
all right.
Is it
We'll
called
be
a
all right.
miracle on Fish Lot? When
Yeah.
you're looking
Yeah.
for a ticket, it's still a miracle. They
Yeah.
go out the dead from the dead.
Yeah, you hear that on Fish Lot. People looking for a miracle.
100%.
Well, in honor of Llama not being here, I'll just go ahead and start it off with old Bucketfoot Al Simmons. Bucketfoot Al was outfielder for the Tigers in 1936. 1936, old
Damn.
Bucketfoot Al.
I feel like I needed to do an organ hit right there, but you're our sound guy.
Howard
So.
Johnson.
I know. I'm.
I got what do we got? What you got?
Howard
Trey?
Johnson.
It's exactly what I heard in my
Hojo's,
head.
named after the hotels.
Howard Johnson and Mets. He's a good player.
Oh,
Howard
Hojo.
Johnson. Yeah, I
Oh,
remember him.
I
from
got
the Mets.
Craig Nettles and Mike Schmidt, 76 home run leaders.
There you go.
I can't wait for this bit to die.
I have.
You just
I
made a
swear to
promo
God.
around baseball. It's not going anywhere now.
Yeah,
Our
you-
last
you-
promo
you
was
hyped
baseball
me.
related.
I thought that would just kill it, but I guess not.
No, it's going
I
to
have-
encourage it.
I have, and I am known for hot takes on the lot here, but I have, to me, the single greatest baseball player of all time, and it's without a doubt
Cal Ripken.
Ichiro.
Ichiro.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ichiro, if
That's
he would have
not a
played
bad
his
take.
whole career,
Not a
if
bad
he would have
take.
played his whole career, he would have shattered every hit record, everything
What
possible.
happened to him?
He played
He
in
got old.
Japan. He played in
Oh.
Japan, and now, well, geez, he's
Recently,
still.
too. Like, he's still, yeah. I mean,
He
he's
played. He just retired, and
Yeah,
I
that's
guarantee
how I
you,
know.
he could still outplay half of Major League Baseball right now. I mean,
I
it's
saw
just-
the
love that guy.
I saw the Mariners uniform. I thought you were going Ken Griffey Jr. there.
Yeah, so did I.
Big
So,
Mariners guy. Love Griffey too. I
don't think that would have been a bad take either. I think that
No,
would
I
have
would.
been
No, I was gonna
I
be
would
like,
have
no,
been fine.
I'll agree with
Griffey's
that.
so awesome too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all used to
Ichiro-
wear our hat backwards, right? Back in the
Mhm.
night. I mean, everybody wanted to be Griffey. And that swing, he had the greatest swing of all time. I mean, it's
I
Pretty
just
much.
remember the Sega Genesis game. Was it Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball 94? I think it was 94. Used to play the shit out of that game.
He had a game
No,
named
that was-
after him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's when
yeah,
you. That's
hell
when
yeah.
you've made it.
You know,
Do we
did
have
you
a
see that
producer
clip?
that could
Speaking
like look that up and get back to us? Because I feel like it was 94. We need to get one of those producers.
Brooks
see
Robinson?
that
Come
real
on,
quick.
Brooks Robinson. He played the hot corner and was the man. He's got to be up there for best ever.
Always the Orioles with this guy. Always the Orioles.
Oh,
Come on, there
so-
is other
Frank
baseball
Robinson,
teams.
Jim Palmer.
The Orioles are his radiators of baseball.
And they are
Manny
the radiators
Machado.
of baseball. They are the radiators of baseball because they've never
Exactly.
really made it to the big time. A couple times they did, but
Exactly.
they'll
Oh,
never
yeah.
be a Yankees
And
or a
and
Fish.
Fam's take, that was a much better take because there's no way that Ichiro is the gumbo of the MLB. That's a much better take.
Wow.
Good job,
I mean,
Fam. You're back on
10
track.
minutes. 10 minutes.
Nice
Oh, this
job.
is fun.
Shoot that
10
elephant,
minutes.
Travis. Shoot that elephant.
Hey, I love it. He knows
I-
it's done out of love. It's done
I
out of
highly
love.
suggest if you haven't, you go back to last week's episode and watch the last 20 minutes. It'll help bring clarity.
And that's really why Llama's not here because of his simple take.
Thank
He-
you.
Llama's
How can
take was
Gumbo-
absolutely the worst.
How can
I do-
Gumbo be bigger than the simple take? Again, when I said I thought he gave me cover, I was like, but I think
Well,
where I
his
hit
is so bad though. Yours was only, it was like on the fringe, right? Like it was
Right. It's
believable and
arguable.
authentic.
Right.
Right. Whereas
exactly.
Llama was like, shut the fuck. Nobody believes that. Like, come on.
It's hard with that one, right? But the thing I would say, and I think I hit the chord with you the most, Tim, because I know you're a Phish guy, and I know you love that Phish.
Yeah,
just the drums,
the whole groove to it is incredible, and I think that's
know.
what escalated the situation. Is like, there's a couple of songs that are like guilty pleasures that I won't like claim are mine, right? Like everybody loves them, but that I hold to a higher esteem than I think other people do. Two of Gumbo is one, and Cars, Trucks, Buses is another one that has like a certain groove to it that I just like. I'm obsessed with that song. I could literally listen to it on a loop for hours on end and never get bored of it.
Right.
You know, I gotta.
So saying Tweezer, if I would have said Tweezer, you'd have been like you'd have been like, fuck Tweezer, sure, fine. But I like hit the exactly right in the heart of the
and I was 2 bottles in, right? Yeah, that was part of it.
2 bottles of beer or 2 bottles? 2 bottles of something.
I got a little bit defensive because Gumbo was the one Phish song that my old band used to cover.
That's what's so weird, dude. I told you guys I had a garage band for like a good like month, and we covered Gumbo. And weirdly, it turned me the other way on Gumbo. Like, and maybe it was because I was singing it only, and it was just the lyrics. The lyrics just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's a groove song. It is a.
Your
groove.
take's getting slightly better, Matt. Now that I'm thinking about this, it is getting slightly better.
It's
I'm
just
glad
the
we
lyrics.
didn't
And I'm a
fire
lyrics
you.
guy. And we're about to have one of the great, obviously, the lyricists of all time on. So, and again, I would never. There's not a Tom song that I would ever go there with lyrics wise, but that Phish written song, oh boy.
He didn't write Gumbo?
No.
Are you sure?
That's a John Fishman original. I'm almost
Yes,
100%
it's a Fishman
sure.
poem like Tube.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
Fishman
really?
song.
Yes.
That's been my thing. God, are we back on this again? What else can
Okay,
we talk about?
we can
Actually, let me just say-
I love it.
Let me
meant
just
to
switch it real
pivot.
quick. I want to just catch up real quick that you were right. Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball as a Super NES baseball game that was released in 1994.
Wow, nailed it.
Wow, no preparation either. That's one of those useless nuggets that just is lodged in my head. I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but I mean that's one of those games that I like played obsessively, right? Because I think that was one of like the first baseball games that wasn't just pixels, like you know, where it wasn't just like a white pixel hit by like a blue pixel that goes over the green pixels.
In '94, I was playing hockey on the Genesis, Sega Genesis hockey.
Yeah.
That's what got me into hockey. I didn't start playing baseball games till like Y2K, ESPN 2K,
Yeah.
which is a great game.
It would be interesting to know how many people got into not just hockey, but sports from playing video games, because I was kind of the same way. That's how you learn all the players' names and how you get into it.
Soccer and hockey
Mhm.
are specifically because I played the video games, because I played Sega and I played. Matt is asking for a miracle. Matt, okay.
My Liverpool scarf is right here, so you're talking soccer. And I got my Liverpool scarf up.
but then getting into FIFA, like learning all the rules of soccer and the intricacies of like the triangle and passing the ball and stuff like that. And like, yeah, if it wasn't for video games, I wouldn't be a fan of either of those sports because I didn't grow up with them.
Especially FIFA. I think FIFA really made it accessible to a lot of us, you know, non-European Wait American kids that
How is there not a Phish video game? That's something maybe we can. I threw my pitch out there. This is supposed to be for my pitch later on, but there should be a Phish
like
video
Zelda.
game.
It's like Zelda with Colonel Forbin having to go.
Or
Exactly.
I think I saw something on Reddit or something once where it's like a lot game where it's like you're a Wook and like you have to like get from your campsite to the show, and it's like an RPG and like you run into the police and then like you get beat on your deal, you know, and like you have all these like things that happen. How do you respond? I don't think it was a real video game, but it would be awesome.
Is it like Civ? Is the question. Do you like set up, empires and, lot empires? You got like the nitrous mafia over here. You got to like take over and, you got to make sure they don't get in your shit. And
you could have a jam band based Civ game where it's like, oh, Goose is all of a sudden taking over territory. Mo's like, whoa, back up. Don't take my land.
That's actually not out of the realm of mod possibilities in Civ. If you're into modding, you could do that very easily.
We should look into that. That seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
A couple things from the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Again, and say hello. to everybody. And there has been a little bit of notice that Chad, it's the second week in a row you're not wearing a hat.
I took it off
I think
right
the people
before
like
we went
your
on.
hair.
Okay,
I
I took
think
it
they
off
like
right
the
before we
hair.
went on because I was
Horatio
comfortable.
did give you a haircut this
He
week.
did.
didn't he?
I'm bummed that wasn't live. I'm bummed that was just in
And
our
we
internal
saw
meeting.
Horatio. Horatio does exist,
exists.
everyone. He
Yes,
does
he
exist.
Yeah, he came and snipped off.
Did
a
he
couple
fix it afterwards? Because he just came up and snip, and then ran
Yeah,
off.
no, you could do that to my hair for a month. Just snip off little loose ends here and there, and I still would be fine. I think it's so bad. It's so bad. I just want to.
Looks great, man.
Yeah, I gave up on haircuts.
Yeah,
my kids gave me a $40 gift card for a haircuttery for Christmas, and I still have it. The haircuttery was closed down for 4 months.
well, yeah, true.
That's
The
true.
world went to
That's true.
hell in the
The
meantime.
hair cuttery? That's the name of a place.
It is. That's all
You
right.
haven't heard of hair cuttery?
That's where I used to get my hair cut.
Yeah, the haircuttery.
I haven't in a
They
long
have
time.
a bunch of chicks just out of beautician school work there, and they probably they're on the low end till they get in a nice place and get a clientele working.
I know. I like the hair cuttery though.
It's fine. It's great. I mean,
I'm
You know what, I wanna bring Brian on.
idea. We only have we don't have like In-N-Out Burger here in the Midwest.
I'm just gonna
We don't
interrupt
have-
you guys.
Oh,
It's gonna be
sorry.
awesome. No, it's cool.
A senior editor for CNN. He is serving up tasty jam sandwiches and helping us all drink through this. From the election trail to riding the rail, it's Brian Ries.
Brian, how is it
There he
going?
is.
Have that.
Hey.
I've never had intro music, but I've always wanted it.
there you go.
Thank
We
you.
said-
man.
We set those intros up like 4 weeks ago, and I had forgotten what the songs everyone chose were, and we were just sound checking it before the show tonight. And I was like, "That's a great intro." You chose
Well-
that too, right? That was a great choice.
Thank you. There's a whole story behind that, man. I was on a high school hockey team back in high school, and we were outside Philly, so pretty heady area for Phish in those times. It was either that or Disco Biscuits or Dave Matthews. You had to choose your path, and that was kind of our jam. We'd take the ice, the DJ would hit that, and we had like choreographed moments that we would start spinning in circles or skating this way when various parts of the song hit. When it'd go major, we knew to start like shooting pucks on the goalie, and that the warm-up was almost over. So it's like it's an important song, very, very important song.
Wow,
a
like a
great song to warm up
choreographed
to.
warm up.
Yes,
That's incredible.
I know.
So it's like a mixture of figure skating and hockey. Like there was some. That's incredible.
Yep.
Well,
We
it's
were
like-
not athletic, but we managed to be graceful. Yeah.
It's also great. It's also a great warm-up song too, right? Like that has to get you
Oh,
fired
yeah.
up.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't even play a sport, and I listen. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Let's go do stuff.
My kid needed walk-up music, and I suggested Tube, the Jam and Tube. She went with Eminem's whatever that song is from his movie. You only
Lose
get one
Yourself?
chance. Yeah, Lose Yourself. That's what she chose for her walk-up music when she hit.
Hey,
Really
hey,
surprised she didn't pick Phish, Kevin. Really surprised by that.
hey, Tim, or Wook,
Yeah.
can you let me share my screen for a second? Because I want to show Brian what I showed you guys in the thread earlier.
Ooh.
The optical illusion that came up in my Twitter feed.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I think
This
you
is
should have
really
access
funny,
now.
actually. Huh?
I
Okay.
think you have access now.
All right, great, cool. So what happened was you and Lawn Memo were back to back in my feed, and this is what happened.
that's hot.
That's good. Luckily, I came with my own head today. Could have been.
That made me laugh so hard. When I saw
Lu-
your shirt, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta show him that.
Oh yeah, I was like digging through the closet. I was like, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, for sure.
You a Phillies guy? That seems like without question.
Yeah,
Where do
you
you
know-
stand? Where do you stand on Pete Rose?
I don't know. It's been a long
Why
time.
are we? I've been trying to get this group off of baseball for the last 7 episodes, and it's not happening. We're just
Not
going
happening.
full-fledged baseball all the time.
There's no baseball.
I know.
What's gonna happen
There's
when
no
there is
anything.
baseball?
We just have to pretend.
Yeah.
So
Well, the
jam
Phillies
sandwich,
got-
maybe that's a good transition. Get off of baseball. So you want to I wanted to talk about this jam sandwich because I hadn't seen it, and then we had talked, and I subscribed to it. Is that something recent? That's because I just discovered it within the last year, I think, and I love your writing on it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a journalist by trade, and I've always been breaking news and like a lot of horrible news, nothing really fun. So I never really write about anything I enjoy, in a weird way. The Garden in 2018, I think it was December 30th. Was that when Light and Split Open and Melt set to, I believe, right? Like,
I think was that the night they played that really sick gumbo? I think that might have
knock
been.
it off,
There we
Wook.
go.
Knock it
There
off.
we go.
Knock it off.
All right. Anyway,
but like in the middle of one of those jams, I had this revelation. I was like, I need to like tweet about Phish more. What am I doing? Not tweeting about Phish, right? And then the jams ended, and turned to my buddy, and I was like, and he goes, I just had the most amazing revelation. I had to quit my job. And then our other buddy was like, I got to do something else. So we like all had, and of course mine was just tweet more, which isn't really the most, the deepest real revelation, but I did. And I started enjoying it. And, it's something funny about Phish Twitter is when you tweet about Phish Twitter finds you, right? So that's how I found probably you guys. And that led to me thinking, what else should I do in this little space? So then I was like, I'll do a newsletter. And for a while, I kind of batted around what to do with Jam Sandwich. I tried a podcast, which to this day, you can find it in iTunes. The only episode is an interview I did with Peter Ansbach and Goose, which isn't even Phish, but it's fine. So then I kind of gradually like narrowed in on doing like kind of like faux investigations in the Phish world, because I kind of can do that, a little bit. Like I like to write about that type of stuff.
What do you mean by faux? What do you mean by faux?
Like we're not going to save any lives here in the stories that I'm doing, but it's very, very entertaining for me to like, although actually if I'm doing a story about whether Phish is going to go up to Vermont because of coronavirus, that probably would save lives or not, but
right.
So
yeah. I remember reading that article about, what would it take for them to do a show in the barn, all want a show in the barn. We all want a live show. And you really broke it down, like how hard this is. And it was interesting seeing you comment on Goose, speaking of Goose, doing their thing, and like, the hope is we're getting that direction, but it's still interesting. And yeah, you nailed it when you hit right on the head when you
thank you, man,
about the barn.
When I was talking to the guys that he's the tour manager for Pigeons and Goose, and they run the production stuff that Goose is doing for Bingo Tour right now. And I was like, break it down, like what will it really take for Phish to do this? And he's like, well, first of all, Phish can pull off anything. If anyone's going to do it, they're going to figure out a way to do it, which is cool that the younger guys think that too still.
Except Curveball.
What,
too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon? Okay.
It's always too soon. Yeah.
Even though we've had a pandemic and like everything else happening since, it's still too soon.
It's got a little more complicated, but the reason Goose can do it in Connecticut is because the restrictions there are a little looser. That's their hometown. They ended up renting this super amazing estate with like multiple rooms, and it's really fancy, and so they're keeping it safe there. And they were already in Connecticut. The problem with Vermont is Trey has to leave Manhattan, and Vermont has quarantine periods. So those I think are lifting or just lifted. So we're nearing time now where I bet you conversations are really heating up amongst them about whether or not they want to do it.
And Fishman's in Maine, so he's going to be quarantined too. So
exactly, and he normally stays at a hotel by the barn. So in that hotel, up until I think maybe mid-July, like they can't accept outside travel. So it's a whole mess of logistics.
A lot of logistics.
That was a great piece you wrote there.
Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. A couple weeks back, Trey wrote that thing. I believe it was on his Instagram page about like, artists living in poverty, and like, and Van Gogh, and like, and like using this time to change who you are as an artist. So part of me makes me think that like they might not want to do it.
Yeah,
they might not want to go to the barn in Vermont and play on the internet. They might be like, no. We'll play when we can play for 5,000 people again, or whatever number, is appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they sound good when they're just jamming, right? I'm sure it's Phish. I'm sure they sound good no matter what, but everything you hear them, like all the interviews and pieces about them, they always are talking about the energy and feeding off of the crowd and everything. And I don't know if they do seem to have a little sensitivity, right? About like not putting out shit, right? Like Trey, I mean, not so much anymore, but he was always very sensitive about like when they had a bad show. So they might just say, hey, we're not going to perform our best, right? If we're not getting that energy feeding back. So fuck it, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, and up until I think they just in Vermont made the crowds a little bigger that you can have. Before it was like 8. Like you would have to forego drum techs and guitar techs and all the people that make sound really sound good, right? So it's like they'd already be sacrificing quality on that aspect.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
we
a
would
great
eat it.
point.
We would lap it up. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
even if it
Oh,
was
yeah.
like a shitty audio quality and just like a single camera, like,
Well, think of the tapes that we used to listen to, right? I
Right,
mean, think of the
right.
quality of those poor tapes that we used to just wear out, So there is a
Yeah.
level of that. But once you're kind of you're spoiled by what they have, and then go back to it, it's hard.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and how spoiled have we been getting with these remasters of the 1.0 stuff of like the 97 and the 95 show? I mean, like listening to those, because I listened to those tapes like you're talking about, fam. Like I played those out in my car. You know what I'm saying? And to listen to them back now with like that level of quality is just unbelievable. What a treat that was.
Maybe they should do an acoustic show from the barn. That way it would eliminate the jam part of it, but they could still, and that would give Trey a chance. Like some of the stuff that he reworked with his solo tour would be amazing to hear a full band arrangement of.
No, I want a 45-minute jam of Train Song.
I
Yeah.
do.
What about
I
3-hour
do.
acoustic
Lawnmower.
army?
Yeah.
Just looping.
Hey, Brian, over your right shoulder on that shelf back there, is that a trophy?
Which one's my right shoulder in that view? This one?
That
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
a trophy on that shelf, right?
These guys?
Next
No,
to
up on
Hoist.
top.
Up on the top
Next
shelf
to
next to
Hoist.
Hoist.
Up here.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh man, back to hockey. This is my Rookie of the Year trophy.
Nice.
Oh,
Very
nice.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I didn't know we had a trophy-winning hockey player coming on
That's
tonight.
it. That's it.
Legitimate hockey player.
Are those sound effects?
Legitimate.
Yeah, we have sound effects.
I have a keyboard.
We're high tech.
That's great. Yeah, that was one of the few sports awards I ever won, so it's still here. My parents sold
Forward-
my house years ago. I cleared all the trophies out, and I kept that one.
Did you play in high
Forward,
school?
defense, goalie.
I was forward.
Very nice. Very nice.
I still play a little bit, but it's gotten slow.
Do you still have your varsity letter, or did you make varsity, or?
Yeah. for
Well, he got
sure.
Rookie of the Year. Of course, he made
Right,
varsity,
well, of course, yeah.
What kind of
that's-
rookie of the year doesn't make varsity?
right?
Oh, I don't know.
Unless he got injured or something.
I can't come up with one off the top of my head. I'm sure there was someone.
So, what exactly do you do at CNN? Because I know you work at CNN, and we were trying to figure that out. And
Yeah.
part of it's because I don't fully know all of the positions and responsibilities. But what exactly do you do at CNN? Because that's
Yeah.
pretty cool, right?
It's
a lot
cool,
going on
man.
right now.
Yep, it's very cool. So I'm on the news desk team at CNN. My actual corner on the internet, on the newsroom, is things that are like happening on the internet, like cultural stories, things people are talking about. We do a lot of like explanative journalism. So if something happens in the news that isn't necessarily the most easy thing to comprehend, we'll dedicate a day or two of trying to break it down into a really like mobile friendly visual format that people can kind of scroll through and be like, oh, okay, this is where Black Lives Matter came from, or this is what they're fighting for. Because a lot of that gets lost in breaking news cycles, and people dive into stories sometimes when the news is happening and they're like, hold on a second, what do you mean 14 people are going where? What's happening on that bus? But if you break it down really simple, you think about consumers that are just getting into that news story, that's what we do. And we also do things like moments that are happening in the world, which is why I actually got to write about Goose for CNN, which is crazy. Because it's not exactly the audience that there's no overlap there, I don't think. But I was like, bands and musicians are trying to rethink how they're touring in the age of coronavirus. Like venues are closed, music industry completely shut down. So I pitched the story. I was like, I'm going to look at this band called Goose because they've got Bingo Tour coming up, and they were, on a rocket ship, it seemed like, in some parts of the jam world. And then their tour was canceled in mid-March, right when the coronavirus pandemic was starting. And so now they've totally pivoted into this like live stream environment. I'm going to write that story. And they're like, go for it. No problem. So it's a kind of a fun little corner where we get to play around with various formats and story ideas. And it's all meant to find kind of new readers. Like we try to go outside of our typical CNN audience a little bit. So it's a lot of editing, a lot of writing, a lot of reading, typical newsroom stuff.
Well, we like to flex here, and I was scrolling through. You guys were on the TikTok story, right? You guys were on the TikTok Trump story, like everybody buying up the all the TikTok
K-pop
kids. Yeah, all the K-pop and TikTok kids buying up all the Trump's tickets. Yeah, Brian and CNN were on that super early going, hey, this is
Nice.
happening, dummies.
Yeah. We
What-
got a
what
great.
is
We had a,
K-pop?
K-pop is Korean
pop.
right?
Korean pop,
music.
yeah.
So like NSYNC in Korea?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but so
but
their
it's way
fans-
bigger. It's
yeah, their
way
fans
bigger.
like you think
Way
Phish fans
bigger.
are crazy? Like
Yeah.
K-pop fans are really crazy. You know.
They make
Well, and
Taylor Swift. They make Taylor Swift fans look sane.
Look tame.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
And they're super organized and like, I mean, there's all of these hashtags. I guess they're typically what right-wing hashtags that they take over. Like that's another way they've been kind of contributing, or a thing they've been doing is whatever the right-wing hashtag is, they just take it over and troll the shit out of it.
Yeah,
Right,
they
and, like,
crushed
they're
the,
really
the
good
White
at it.
Lives Matter thing. They crushed that one. They've been crushing
Like
a lot lately,
instantly, instantaneously take over those hashtags.
They've even done
It's kind of
things where like
impressive.
yeah, they've done things where like I think someone, I don't know if it was a sheriff's office or some authority, put out a call like send us photos or videos of looting. I don't remember the exact story, so I'm making up those details. And the K-pop fans responded by sending like fan videos of bands that they like, and just completely overwhelmed that system that they had to shut that tip line down. You know,
Brian, did you think when you came on the lot you were going to be talking about K-pop?
You
K-pop
do-
stands.
There's no every conversation goes back to K-pop eventually. This one got there quicker.
There weirdly is like you said, I mean, Phish fans are very, you know, over the top, and K-pop fans are like a level beyond that. You know, it's incredible. And to use their platform, like Tim was saying, you know, to for good, it's a textbook example of how to do it. It's really neat.
Yeah, and you know, people were saying that, you know, because they're teenagers, a lot of the initial news coverage was like, oh, it's a prank, you know, or it's a stunt. And they were like, no, why isn't this activism? Like it's this activism on a mass scale. Just because we're teenagers, you can't dismiss it as a stunt, you know. And it's like a lot of these kids can't vote yet, and so you know, they see it as their way to contribute to the political environment in what they believe to be a good way.
Teenagers are the most powerful voice, but the problem we find is when they become young adults, they don't go and vote.
Yep, that is true. I mean, this will probably be another test of that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what November looks like with. So do you do any, I guess before I go into that, do you do any election coverage?
No, we have a whole
You're not on that
team, and
beat
I mean,
at all?
I can talk about what they do, but we have a whole team in Washington that's
Right, I know CNN does, but I was just your
Yeah.
involvement.
I mean, I might do a story like that story with the K-pop stuff. Like we did that because that was kind of a trending internet story, right?
Right.
The main kind of like coverage of politics definitely comes out of DC, and they've hired a bunch of awesome people to kind of run that show.
So where are you based out of right now?
My basement, of course.
No, I mean, are you in Philly still,
Yeah.
or
No, I'm in New York.
New York?
Sure.
Right. Okay.
Yep, I'm in New York. I left Philly a long time ago, but still rock it.
I'm still down here.
Where are you guys?
Well, we're all over the place. I live outside of Philly, in the
I'm
suburbs
in
of
Maryland,
Philly.
outside of Baltimore.
Kansas City, Missouri, just the suburbs of KC.
And then those
And then
other
we
two
got
guys
the LA
are,
boys down there.
yeah,
The Glimmer
Chad and I are
twins.
both in LA. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
And in sunny LA.
Well, look,
Stop
man,
rubbing it in.
I was outside Philly. Maybe we played hockey together if you played hockey. You could have come see me play, man.
So I'm going to have a question. I think I'm going to ask all three guests tonight because we have a bracket coming up for the greatest American rock band. And I don't know if I gave you this I don't think I told you this ahead of time. So we're kind of throwing you on the spot. But I want to get your take, and then I'll ask Pete and Tom too. What you think is the greatest American rock band?
Is American rock band?
So you can't have the band because Robbie Robertson's from Canada, that kind of thing.
I don't think he was
Yeah.
going to have the band.
I mean, hey, can I say the Grateful Dead, or is that an obvious answer?
No,
No,
that's
that's-
No, you
They're one of them.
You and Trey both think that.
I
And Kevin.
can't not think that. I
No,
mean,
I'm CCR guy.
Oh, right.
CCR is fun, but the Grateful Dead speak to everything about the American, experiment, and they capture that energy at such a crucial time in the juncture of American life when it transitioned from the 50s to the 70s and the 80s. And their songs are so accessible, and they reach so many people, and their longevity to this day makes them like the American Beatles. I don't think there's any way you could say they're not one of the best.
and they're a 1 seed, right? They're one of the top 4 seeds.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I go to. I think everybody goes that, right? They're very Americana.
And their whole mythology is America.
Yes.
cowboys and that kind of thing.
Biker
Maybe
gangs.
It'll be interesting.
Capitalism. I mean, let's be honest. They're selling deodorant now. So
Yeah.
I mean, deodorant.
Oh,
Where
Can
did
I
that
give a
come
wild
from?
card band? Too?
Yeah, please.
please.
All right, they're not going to compete on the same level, but I think we should put Rage Against the Machine just because of this particular moment that we have going on, and their longevity and their energy. They're not the greatest, but it'd be fun to put them in the bracket and see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're in there, right, Chen? Oh, I
I
think
think Chad
Chad's
froze.
They're in. Yeah, I'm gonna reboot here, you guys. I'm sorry, I got a bad.
All right, it's all right. I'll keep it moving.
I think Rage
All
is
right.
in there.
Rage is in there. Yes.
Yeah. And we have some other rap groups as well. Like it's kind of if they cross
Public
a little bit
Enemy.
over, we've got Run DMC, Public Enemy, some other groups that crossed
Okay.
into that genre a little bit. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. When's that happening?
July 4th, 4th of July, we're gonna launch it. So
Perfect.
that hopefully that'll
We have some
be a nice
playing
distraction from
brackets.
everything.
We added and the bands like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band because
Yeah,
originally
Dave
they weren't included.
Matthews.
But Tom Petty is definitely a contender. I mean, that guy, everything that came out of his pen was a hit,
That's awesome. I love Tom Petty.
Fun
Yeah, I
show.
think that'll be a fun intro, and hopefully that'll be a nice distraction for everybody. I mean, I don't want to take away from the message and everything, but it's good to have some fun too, right?
Oh,
So,
your brackets have been absolutely incredible. So fun.
oh, you're familiar? You've played along?
Yeah. I mean, it's just
I'm
like,
not saying that facetiously. It's like I'm excited about that. I always get excited when people I find out people do them.
It provides me a guide of what I should be listening to, because a lot of these songs I've either forgotten about or haven't heard in a long time. And so,
Yeah, the jam brackets in particular have been very valuable to me too, because I get a little, even within the being myopic of just listening to Phish, I also listen to certain years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm very focused. So like the 2.0 jam bracket we just had was extremely helpful to me because I always am like 95, 97, and then like some 3.0. And getting back into the 2.0 was super helpful.
I love 2.0. I mean, we don't have to get into that. You guys probably had that talk a
There
million
you go,
times.
Matt.
But
You're speaking fam's language. He's
Yeah.
like 2.0 or he loves it. Go into it.
yeah.
I
Okay.
always found it fun to listen to whole tours, like
Yeah.
as much as you can to see how a song even changes. Like a Bowie will change from one, and then you end up 2 years later with those Bowies that had like the 8-minute intros and just the hi-hat, doing weird stuff with it. Like the one at where was that other show, 97 in Deer Creek that they showed on Dinner and a Movie.
Oh yeah, that was dirty.
That was.
That was awesome. Yeah, I like it's especially 2.0 because that's when I feel like I really like went nuts.
That was your Phish enlightenment period,
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, like I saw a couple shows in the late 90s, and then 2.0 happened, and it was like weird. It was kind of dark, and the lot scene was weird, but the music was spectacular. Like, and it's fun to see songs like Sense get played in the first couple shows and go back and listen to like these songs that we now know so well. Like for me, because I wasn't around in the early 90s, I didn't get to hear all those songs debut. So
Yeah, I agree. And it's like when we do the 1.0 or 3.0 jam brackets, like there's a lot of jam vehicles that you expect, right? Like there's a lot of tweezers, Down with Diseases. But the 2.0 jam bracket, like Sense and 46 Days, and like there's songs, I mean, a couple 7 Belows, songs that we don't really think of as jam vehicles as much anymore, that were just, they were really exploring them. And I kind of wonder what would have happened if they had an opportunity, like if they didn't break up and like they really flushed them out and had more time to evolve those songs. I feel like some of them got cut short,
Did they break up or fall apart?
Yeah, well, hey, time's flying, and this is a fast-paced episode, so I have our next guest on. I'm gonna do some magic here for a second.
All right.
Bear with me. You guys hear it?
Residing in Albany, New York, this publisher, writer, and promoter founded and curates fan art. He edits nysmusic.com and put out the only lot recipe book in the world. It's Pete Mason.
Man, you guys just killed it with your intro music selection. What's up, Pete?
How you guys doing?
Good. Your quarantine beard, by the way, I wasn't planning on starting with this, but I just saw you is stellar. That is an excellent quarantine beard.
Yeah, Brian came with the solid beard as well. Like, I'm really kind of filling out at this point.
Yeah.
Trav's got it going. Nah, like, what's going on here? I need to get it going.
I think somebody's feeding back through, by the way. Your audio is feeding back through a little bit. But so what's going on, Pete? How you been?
Good. School year's over, so able to focus on everything that I was planning to do this summer, which isn't going to happen. So just in taking the 2 months to see what comes of it and get every experience in possible.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you have a couple of, I guess first you're a teacher, right? So your school year's over. You were doing the remote learning, right? Matt here, Famertime's also a teacher.
Oh, nice.
And then I guess what you're talking about were your fan art shows you had planned for tour.
Oh yeah, and just getting out of the state and seeing stuff, and instead of being cooped up in Albany for in the Adirondacks for the next few months. I was looking forward to doing Tahoe, and I think going from Arkansas to Nashville and AC and Dix, but once it looked like it was canceled, there was no reason to fret over it, and we'll just see what they can bring us. I heard you guys talking about maybe they do something at the barn. Reese, I read your article on could it happen, and you laid it out very clear, and I refer people to it because it's like, okay, it's got every argument that you have, but you put the caveat in of, but if anybody can do it, it's Phish, and fingers still crossed they do something. If they have a couple tour buses they can ring around the barn, they might be able to pull it off. And Vermont and up here has been pretty safe away from everybody, from all the outbursts. So
do you think they would want to? I think that's where the conversation was going. We were trying to figure out if they would be interested in doing it.
I think that I think they have the itch, but I think they're like, oh, why do we have to rush ourselves? But if half the band and a lot of the production and the team is up in Burlington area, you just need to get Trey and Phish up there and work it out with their families. And that's kind of why I feel like, especially in the whole valley from like Albany to Burlington, we're kind of like secluded a little bit from other regions. So they might be a little more, when you look at the bigger picture, it's like, yeah, maybe. And I think they're itching to do it, but they're not going to, rush it. I mean, we'll get something this year. I'd be shocked if we didn't have something from them.
Yeah, because it's not just the summer tour. Like, that's the immediate thing that's on everybody's mind. But they've been doing a fall tour pretty consistently. And New Year's, I don't think we'll be back for New Year's. So that's a long time to go without performing live. I mean, I think they're going to have to do something, right?
Yeah, there'll be something where they decide to, kick some rust off, or they plan something out where it's, Labor Day weekend, and then they plan something for everybody, and there's just a weekend series. I don't know. There's so much potential, but since we have the barn, we gravitate our thoughts kind of right to that one.
I think you'll end up getting a Mike Gordon band thing before you end up getting a Phish thing.
Well, they might test it out that way. That'd be a good.
Yeah.
Test it
out.
out.
I think all of those guys are up in Burlington, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The guy from Max Creek, what's his name? Mikowski?
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not in Vermont, he's in Connecticut or Mass.
Well, Kimmock's probably with his dad in California somewhere, but
you guys have lost me. You're way too heady
yeah,
and knowledgeable.
I'm like, hey. I'm like, hey, hi, Pete. Nice to meet you, by the way. I just got back online.
They already kind of remotely made Sigma Oasis in some ways, right? Like, didn't they already kind of just have to start putting pieces together remotely? So you almost wonder, could you continue to make some original music and some different things kind of in a remote way like that? I mean, that might be something as well.
I think that's two different things too, right? Like, I think writing new music, they absolutely could do that. I mean, you hear Tom talk about like even the songwriting process with Trey now. They do a lot of it through email and notes, and they're sharing things digitally. right? They're not just sitting in a room as much. So I think that side of it, they absolutely could. But then actually putting on like a live stream performance is, you know.
I'm just picturing Kuroda bringing the most ridiculously big rig into the barn that he could.
You could. That's the thing that
like,
that's what Goose proved. That's why I get so excited about it. Their lights were professional, you know. And they probably were like, why not? Like, we're in this random barn. Let's go crazy, you know. Kuroda, he's not playing any Knicks games or Rangers games, so he's probably bored.
Right.
You know? You got a lot of bored, creative people.
That Goose stream was excellent. And even if you weren't like, tell me, I mean, again, and I'm not like a huge Goose guy, but I truly enjoyed like the direction and the way the production quality was excellent. So if they could pull that off, then my gosh, that'd be great. Yeah.
I fully agree. I'm talking a lot about Goose. It makes it seem like I'm a crazy. I like Goose, you know, but I think what I'm really excited about is the way they showed the live touring industry, what can be done with a little bit of time and space. You can create a super like a lot of people are doing these little Facebook live streams with the guitars, like Bela Flex does. It's nice. It's really nice. But people want like a little bit more when we're all like so starved for something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, you can create pretty decent stuff, which then in the future, once this all ends and we're going back to regular old couch tours, imagine how much better those will be. You know, like maybe I hope that like Live Phish and Brad and those guys have learned that maybe we want these weird fades between the musician, the band, the members. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you, Brian.
I love seeing that. You know,
we have threads all the time, me and Travis and all of us on Wook Plus, going, please just let us direct these Live Phish webcasts. Please give us like, because they just don't quite get there. Every once in a while, there's a good one, but then you just go, there's somebody who could do this better.
Yeah. Well, it always amazes me. I know, it's crazy. I mean, it's funny, but it's also crazy. Like, you'd think somebody should be a fan, not just a business person, and they're like doing, you know, like working as a director to get those cuts. And you got to know when the right moment is to focus on Trey, or when you want to like cut away and get on somebody else. And they always seem to miss that, which was actually fun about the last one, having those crazy transitions, and that now I've never even seen the audience in that one, and just seeing the band in that overproduced clips. That was fun. Like, do that, take it in there and like overproduce the shit out of one, and then and show it later. And I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of those.
And they never back out and show the lights. They never back out and give that wide shot so you see all the lights. It's always close-ups when the band members and
or that three-way.
You do CK5 cam. I mean, they used to do.
Excellent.
I remember a Jay-Z webcast where you could scroll through different cams. I would love for them to go to where you could choose your own cam. You know, like, hey, here's the CK5 cam. Here's the up close Trey fingers cam. You know, which they always go to.
And then just leave.
Brian and Pete are getting a really good inside look at what our thread looks like.
I know. I invite the greatest guest today. I'm so pumped to talk to Pete, and then you guys just fucking go off. I have so many questions, and now I mean we're up against it. Tom's gonna be in here in any second, and I feel bad because I wanted to talk to Pete. I mean, he has the NY State music that he has going on. He has fan art. All right, Pete. You want to give maybe, because I do want to make sure that we talk about this. It's awesome what you're doing with NY State. Do you want to maybe give like a 2-minute what's going on with that before Tom gets in?
Yeah, sure. New York State Music is been around for 5 years, and over the last like decade of writing about music in the state, we've put together, you know, pretty large encompassing team that covers all throughout every corner, not just the city. That actually came later in our evolution. It's really about uncovering all the up and coming artists and making sure they get, you know, their due, because a lot of sites out there just don't cover them. And I know they beg and plead for coverage, and some of them will charge you obnoxious sums or just ignore you, which is probably worse. So we've been focusing on that with every up and coming artist, every genre around the state. But now that we don't have shows to cover, and we ran into this, you know, pretty early, it was like, oh boy, no music, what can we do? So we've shifted, we've always made it a minor focus, but now it's a little bit larger as a focus on the history of music in New York State, and focusing not just on songs, but on people and places. We have a new series that's going to start looking at pretty much every dead show in the state, you know, starting with individual shows. We've already done a handful of them, but we're going to start going through like the Cafe A Go-Go residencies in the 60s,
Nice.
and start getting deep. You know, they played somewhere in the Bronx in the 70s. I got
Tough neighborhood.
Yeah, there's so much in depth up here, and I kind of get to combine my teaching with some music and the site. So we're gonna kind of work on that, and when shows come back, we'll be covering those as well.
What was the live music scene like before the pandemic up in upstate New York, up in that area, in that corridor you're talking about? Was it hot?
Yeah, pretty vibrant. I mean, in Albany, you know, we have a handful of clubs. We have a new one opening up, Lark Hall, that kind of fills that void of a lot of our venues go up to like 200, 300 cap, but in Albany proper, the next one is the Egg, size-wise.
The Egg, I love the Egg.
I love the Egg, but you can't jump from Parish Public House to the Egg. It's just
that's a big jump.
You need your stepping stone. We haven't had that stepping stone for years. And
you don't have like a house of blues up there or nothing like that.
No,
like that size.
House of rules from my experience.
Right.
That's it. You got that.
We finally got Lark Hall opening up here, and a lot of venues were really like seeing a resurgence. You know, when the economy is good, you have more money to spend on entertainment, music, movies, fun. People were going out to live shows more. So it was pretty solid. I mean, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, all of them. And, you know, there really wasn't a spot in the state where you were struggling to find music. And if you were, you probably don't have to drive too far. There's, you know,
stylistically, oh, I'm sorry.
Hey.
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you. And normally I would love to dive into this more, and I would leave the guest in the waiting room. But since the guest is Tom,
want to let him in?
I want to let him in. So bear with me. We'll come back to it though. Let's see how this goes.
I want to know the genre of music.
I want to know the big band names.
Calling Princeton, New Jersey home, Phish fans will best know him from his keyboard work with Amphibian and Under the Scales on Osiris Media. In his spare time, he writes lyrics. It's Tom Marshall.
Hey, what's up, Tom?
Hey,
I love
Tom.
that picture. Oh, who had that feedback? Hey, Tom, you hear us?
Tom, you there?
I'm here. The music's still on.
The music.
Oh, do you have YouTube on?
That walk-in music was on. There we go. Oh, YouTube. I turned that.
Yeah, if you have YouTube up, you should turn YouTube off. There's a delay. Classic radio.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, though.
Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing? Hey, Pete. Good to see you, Pete. The only alum from Under the Scales on. Although I got to say, Weekend Wook has helped me a great deal.
I am a huge fan of yours. Well, obviously, I think we all are, but specifically to Under the Scales and Osiris. I mean, I was right around the same time that you guys had started Osiris. Was right when I had first gotten into the whole Weekend Wook digital thing, and man, it just is amazing. I love what you guys are doing over there.
It's nice seeing what you really look like. You could actually pass for a Wook during the week too.
That's more of a quarantine situation, but I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
He's a full-time.
How's everything?
Hey, I will always refer to you now as Thomas Marshall. That's your name on the that's your name on Zoom, Tom. So I love that, Thomas Marshall. I've never even heard you referred to that way.
Sometimes I guess I feel serious when you're filling in blanks. You know, it's like, what do I put in my actual name or my?
Yeah, it's good you didn't put in your social security number, Tom.
That's next. Yeah.
Well, I really do appreciate you coming on. I think this is awesome, and I'm glad that we were able to work out the timing and everything. Our original plan, our original slated date, we all decided it would be best to take a step back and let other voices be heard. And, now that we are back here, it's awesome to have you on. I have a lot of questions, right? I think everybody does. There's a lot of excitement. But I kind of was thinking it would be interesting to hear. And one thing that I've never really heard you talk about was what your lot experience is, like what it's like for you to go to a show. And since we're on the lot, I thought it would be appropriate and interesting for people to kind of get into your routine, your show routine, right? Because we all have our show rituals and what it's like for us, but you're Tom Marshall. What is it like to go to a show for you?
Oh man, well the show itself, I'm always happy just to be right in the audience, not doing anything wacky like trying to be side stage or backstage or anything. And Phish has actually made that easy since 3.0 because the other 3 band members married and had kids, and so backstage is kind of not only sober, but it's also like a nursery back there. So it's not welcoming anymore as it was in 1.0 and 2.0. But that aside, I love being out in the audience. But you guys are specifically.
Are you a page side or a mic side?
Just
or
by
dead center.
By virtue of MSG, the way they place me, I'm a mic side person, and so I tend to gravitate that direction. I don't know if that's just if I'm doing.
I think
that
I do
habit.
too, actually.
You had the
Yeah,
best seat
Mike
in the
side.
house at the Capitol Theater for Trey Band. I was to your right, and I came and said hello. And you had the number 1 front row middle seat that I was like, if you're going to be at the Cap seeing Trey, that's exactly where I want to be.
That's a good seat, and I had that at the Met too. It's sort of like the King and Queen's box or something. And I so didn't want to be there. I had a kind of a bit of a head full, and I realized anyone that turns around, like I'm somehow featured. I felt like I was on stage. It was bad. So anyway, I backed up and had a better time. I was behind people.
You
Yeah,
sound
and
like you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You
sorry.
sound like you gravitate towards indoor shows. You keep talking about MSG and stuff. Are you an outdoor show guy?
Yeah, very much so. So your question was about the lot, and I'm thinking, like, what's my best lot experience? So for whatever reason, Camden E Center or BBT Pavilion or Tweeter or Susquehanna or whatever it's
All
called.
acceptable. All
Yeah.
acceptable.
We often had a pretty good game set up there where we got some shade and got some, amazing picnic material and a lot of beer. And that's really cool. But I would say arguably Dick's has the best shakedown, and except when there's a plague. So Phish fans have had to deal with a plague at Dick's and then a pandemic. So as a fan base, we are truly down with disease.
Right.
Ooh, I do want to flex a little because I did say Dick's lot when we talked about what's all our favorite lots. I said Dick's is
It's
the
great.
one in 03 or in 3.0. 3.0, it's Dick's nowadays, friends.
Flexing.
Yeah.
Flexing.
Yeah.
Do you get out to Dick's a lot? Have you gone to a lot of the 10 years of Dick's or 9 years, I guess?
No. I 2 or 3 total. And I was going to go to the plague one and didn't. But I had a great that experience there at Dick's is amazing because I have a friend, David Haynes and Charlie Jakes and Jack Cook, and they have a band called Pro Leisure, and they have the Dick's lot down to a science. We swim at David's house before the show in Boulder, and then we all head over early and set up the tent and the band, and they have generators. They know what they're doing. And they also know someone, I forget her name, Molly or something, who's like this sort of a mean t-shirt queen who knows like the real estate and like is in charge of like who sets up where. And so they always get a good spot. And then I also, weirdly, I had something called a 1906 Moroccan Bliss Lounge the last time I was there. I think it was 2018. And it was because this cannabis company created 2 amphibian versions of their chocolate products, Bliss and Go. And so they had sort of a luxury Bedouin tent, kind of like, almost felt like I had a harem or something. In addition,
That was on live.
You deserve that. Honestly, on behalf of everybody here, you absolutely deserve that every show you go to.
That's what I pictured.
Yeah.
Oh, look
Yeah, that's what I pictured too, always.
I want that at every show. That would be great. Even indoors, why not, right?
just right behind the soundboard, just a nice
The
little
lobby of
harem back
MSG, right next to the merch table is Tom's tent.
That's section 119 with the chicken, man. That's the
So that was probably, that chicken. That was probably my best lot experience, frankly. But I do have an honorable mention, and it involves Mike. And I just want to slip it in really quick. It's
or slowly. I mean, you're Tom Marshall. We'll take our time. It's
Okay.
fine.
All right. I feel like I'm like on the clock somehow.
We got an hour and a half to kill right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, you don't have to hang out the whole time, but you're more than welcome to.
All right. Well,
Please.
let me chill out then a little bit with
All right.
some wrench and a beer.
Industrial
All
Arts,
right.
Tom. There you go.
Mm.
That's a New York beer.
Yeah. Hi, Ken Erdogan, I guess he's the marketing manager there at Industrial Arts. Found
Yes,
me
he
at
is.
a Phish show, and I've been drinking it ever since, and it's amazing beer.
Before we, oh, sorry. I just wanted to point out, I'm pretty sure the band you were describing is in all of the B-roll that we use on this show, because we use B-roll of Dick's Lot for all the guest intros and for the intro to the show. And there's always a clip of a band in a white tent at the Dick's Lot playing. I think that's the band you were talking about.
Pro Leisure, and it might be because Charlie Jakes, the guitarist, is phenomenal. He's like really like rooted in blues playing, but also has a very, very heavy Grateful Dead bent as well.
I think we need to have them on the lot just because we're using
They're
footage
on
of
the
them.
lot. Yeah,
they're
we're
on the
using
lot
it.
every single week.
Oh, I wanted to tell you about Mike really quick before I forget.
yeah.
And that's we were at Jones Beach, and it was a long time ago. I'm not good, as you guys will discover, at knowing what show I was at when or what they played and that kind of thing.
I don't think we are either.
You know, you guys are.
We're not those types of fans. We're just like
start a podcast about Phish and then realize how quickly realize how the audience knows way more than you do about the band.
Yeah.
But okay. Mike, who at the time we were on the bus, and I was on the bus with the band, so this had to be, 1.0 or so. And they were very concerned at the time about their diets. I think Fishman had some sort of weird mushroom that he would like pour water into and then siphon the water off and drink as tea. And it was hideous. It stank. And then Mike similarly had some sort of wheatgrass type diet going on at the time. And so I knew they were so worried about what they ate that I felt no danger in making this bet. Mike's golf cart pulled up, and we were talking with like a whole group of people, and Mike's cart pulled up and everyone sort of gravitated toward him. One guy on an extremely dirty Wook hand handed him a goo ball, and it was big. And I said to the guy, if Mike eats that, I'll give you $500. And Mike grabbed it and started eating
it. Did you pay up?
Well, everyone sort of went, whoa. and then Mike said, he gave me a back door. Thank God. He said, do I have to finish it? And I said, yes, of course. And he didn't. He took it and handed it back to the guy. So I was safe. I probably should have given the guy some money.
How was his show that night?
Oh gosh, you see, now you're asking me stuff I don't know. I'm gonna say great. I'm gonna say great. It was great.
That's a safe answer.
Yeah, I'm sure it was great.
I missed the goo balls. That was such a great 1.0 kind of weird thing.
Yeah.
I remember somebody made them out of breakfast cereal. They had Frosted Flakes and Cinnamon Toast Crunch goo balls at Camp Oswego. And not for a day when chocolate wasn't really an option, it kind of went down perfectly.
I love Mike on the golf cart, right? Like Mike always just toured around the lot on the golf cart all the time. And I think he still does, every once in a while. So I remember.
He just did the mock song competition last tour. He was touring around on his golf cart, challenging people to recite mock song, and like nobody could do it. I think one person could do it.
Was that at Alpine?
The person who did, I think he did a couple of shows.
Oh, cool.
Would you guys just eat goo balls not knowing, like now that now that edibles have come out and the strengths are very carefully marked on them, would you guys just randomly eat a goo ball not knowing how much is in it? Because
horrible.
Pretty much.
I've had incredibly bad experiences just eating too much pot.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Pass out on the lawn for a set and then get up and it's good.
Yeah, not anymore, but
this crew, Tom, the Wook Plus crew, the answer was always going to be yes for all of us.
Man, you're in your 20s. It's 97. You're in Deer Creek. You're eating whatever goo balls put in front of you. I'm telling you that right now.
I'll tell you what, if Phish comes back soon, I'm eating a goo ball.
There, we all are.
Exactly.
We're gonna hold you to that, Brian.
We're gonna.
I think there's something safe about like a Phish show too, that you feel maybe not in all actuality, but like that you just feel like you're around people that get it, that know, and like it's an environment where you feel comfortable. If you need to sit down on the lawn or whatever for a set, you're okay. But there's just some comfort, I think, to being at a show. It's not like you would do that randomly.
It's all good. It's gonna be all vegan, and
Sure.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I'm sure, is vegan.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
It's the Whole Foods brand. It was the Whole Foods brand.
Yeah. So we got a chance to ask Brian. Pete, you can answer this one too, because I don't think we asked you, and I want to.
Boy, the
I
big
want to get
question.
Tom's take too.
Uh-oh.
Well, we have a bracket coming up. We do, Tom. I don't know if you're familiar, but we do these brackets, and we decided the next one's going to be the greatest American rock band. And it's seeded. We're going to start on 4th of July, but I think this is just a fun conversation. What you think the greatest American rock band is, and maybe a couple, right? Because
is he allowed to say Phish though?
Well, you can, but I would like to find out one aside.
Okay. All right.
For you guys, for your bracket, Phish and Grateful Dead will make it right to the end, right?
Yeah,
so we should almost eliminate those two and then talk about the others.
Oh, we hope not. We hope not, because I'm pushing a certain
Well,
band.
you
and I'm
hope
gonna
not.
Get
I am.
Okay.
All right.
Tom?
Well, immediately what comes to mind for me is like probably things that aren't even on your bracket, like Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, or Steely Dan, or what about like Talking Heads?
Are on.
Talking Heads, I think, is like a 3 seed. We actually have Talking Heads up pretty high.
Okay. How about Tom Petty or Allman Brothers?
So
both on.
What we ended up doing was, and Chad originally did the initial bracket, and then he and I and the rest of the group kind of refined it. Chad had left off the andas, so like Tom Petty or Bruce Springsteen or Dave Matthews, just to like, because there's so many bands, we wanted to get down to 64, but we didn't feel good about having them off. So we're doing a play-in bracket where there's actually an entire bracket just to get one spot in the main bracket, and it's the bracket, which I think is going to be Tom Petty versus Bruce Springsteen. I think is the common census on what's going to end up coming out of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's like
Bruce, of course.
Dave is in there too. There's a couple of solo acts in there.
If I didn't, I mean, I would vote for Phish just because it's Phish, but and I actually do feel that they're the greatest American rock band. But I would say I'd probably vote for Steely Dan.
Nice.
It's a solid choice.
All right.
What do you think?
One of my favorites.
If we're talking influence, I'd probably go Allman Brothers because of the amount of bands that they've influenced and the members they have. And even though they were more in the jam area, I'd probably pick them a little bit above.
It's so we've been talking about this every week, and my brother's always commenting in the chat, Allman Brothers, Allman Brothers, Allman Brothers. Everybody ignores them. Llama keeps ignoring them. So I'm glad you said that. John, if you're watching, we got your Allman Brothers in there because Allman Brothers doesn't come up, but that's a pretty obvious choice, I think, right? Like it has to be in the conversation.
They're up there. They're ranked high. And Tom, for the record, I just want you to know I had Phish as a 1 seed and my favorite, but they made me flip Phish and the Dead. So now the Dead's a 1 seed and Phish is a 2 seed.
Well,
so
Trey
just so you know, it wasn't me. It was everybody else.
Trey on Charlie Rose did an interview and he said the Grateful Dead were the best American band ever. So that's my go-to for that.
Say?
Yeah, but I mean, you're not gonna say we're the greatest band ever. Well, I mean, maybe somebody might.
Who, us?
Well, Tom just did.
As
I mean,
long as I can be the
he's a
singer.
big part of the band.
Phish is the greatest American band ever, mostly because of the
Mostly
lyrics.
because of the lyrics. Yeah, mostly because
the music's all right, but it's the lyrics that push them over the top.
That's what makes most people fans is the lyrics. It's not the guitaring or anything like that.
Oh, there's truth to that. There's truth.
Yeah,
to
there
that.
is. I mean, all kidding aside, I think there's a lot of truth to because you balance on this line of obscure, obscene, weird, but also like powerful, sincere. I don't know, like it's a nice balance. I think, in my humble, innocent opinion, I think there's a good balance between like obscure, but also sincere and genuine that I've always appreciated about your writing. Sorry,
Tom. Speaking of sincere and genuine, these guys, we all have a constant talk going, and they all know that because I'm a piano player, I'm a music first guy and a lyrics guy second, and that's different amongst the group. Like Fam is a lyrics guy first and a music guy, second. But that's just never the way I've been. I don't know what it is about Phish lyrics that very early on, I memorized every lyric. What is that?
Is that a question, Chad?
No, I'm kind of no. The question is, what is that? No, the question. First of all, it's thank you, and I'm grateful. But the second question is, what kind of weird magic voodoo do you have that nobody else does?
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I think.
It's a complete compliment.
But I don't know. It's a tough question. I'd have to think about it. But I will say that Trey says something similar to me often whenever, there's a third person in the room talking about Phish lyrics. He says that he recognized early something very unusual in my lyrics and my thinking process that he hasn't seen anywhere else. And
can I ask something?
Yes,
about
sure.
that.
Yes.
When you start to write a song, do you just write down what you're writing, or do you say, I want to write a song about X and then craft the lyric to it?
Almost never the latter. It's just like there's a phrase that somehow, tumbles out of my head either onto the computer or onto paper, and then I sort of build a song around that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Vonnegut or Kerouac?
Vonnegut. I do like Kerouac, but he's got that one book, whereas Vonnegut has so many.
I feel like this is kind of, we gotta be careful.
It's lightning round with Tom Marshall. Come
right,
on,
like
man.
I was gonna say, we gotta be careful not to just get in grill mode. We're like, all right, Tom, welcome to the lot.
That's why I was trying to cap it with the Vonnegut versus. I knew that was an absurd question.
What about
No, that
Bums?
is and
Dharma Bums
tell
is
me
a great book.
Slaughterhouse 5 is kind of one, that made me grow up. I think I was like 16 or 17 when I read it, and I immediately became an adult when I,
Oh
when
my
I
God,
read
Tom.
it. Yeah.
Tom, honestly, like to me, when I listened to your lyrics and your writing, there was no question to me that you were a Vonnegut guy, not a Kerouac guy.
I knew the answer. I knew the answer when I
knew
asked.
you did too, Chad. I knew you did. But again, it's so cool to hear again. So I just and again, things like Strange Design, Pebbles and Marbles. I mean, those kind of songs are to me. I'm curious, like when those songs get turned over to Page, he sings Strange Design, I'm curious like how that process ends up. Did you sing Strange Design in the initial kind of, and that transfers to Page? How's that kind of work in that process?
Yeah, so that song in particular, Strange Design, was one that Trey and I wrote in Trey's first house in Vermont, and Dave Matthews came over and listened to us play it. And I didn't know Dave Matthews back then. One of you guys will probably be able to figure out what year roughly this was. And Trey gave him the song. He said, we are giving you, and I think actually like handed him the lyrics, which he said, thank you. And he put them down. And I didn't know what was involved actually with the giving of a song to someone. And it turned out that I don't think it happened. And it also turned out that he covered Waste instead of Strange Design. Right. But Strange Design was like written where Trey sang it with the guitar, with my lyrics, and then I added that harmony to it as he was singing. So that's how that one was written. As to how it gets to Page singing it, that's out of my realm. It's sort of like goodbye song. I hope it becomes a Phish song, and then when it goes into the Phish world,
do you find out the same way we do? Like, do you just then hear it on the album or see it at a show?
Sometimes I'll get a preview. If it's particularly amazing, and Trey wants me to hear a preview, I will. A lot of the stuff on Sigma, I hadn't heard a preview of.
Yeah, Tom, what do you think about the lyrics for Sigma Oasis? It feels like they were written from the future.
Take off your mask or whatever.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
You guys like have a special magical mirror or something looking into the future? That was incredible.
This same thing happened when Phish announced their hiatus after 2.0. And everyone looked into the lyrics of Undermine and said, you guys were forecasting the breakup, no more fish in the sea. There's some other stuff like in Undermined. But then someone went through and found stuff in every single song. So I think if you look for it, you can find, but really it was amazing that all these songs on not only Sigma Oasis, but another batch that we had written in Annapolis, some of the songs made it on the Sigma Oasis. Some became Trey's, quarantine songs. All of these sounded so COVID and quarantine related. It's incredible. And yet
that was all before COVID, right? That was
they
all
were
pre-COVID.
All written pre-COVID. It's kind of like we did have some premonition. Yes, it was amazing. Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but and I'll honestly say Trey didn't change any of this lyrics either. He didn't like make them fit the situation.
That is bonkers. I swear, I think we all thought, unless I didn't read something somewhere, that he was literally writing them cooped up in some apartment in Manhattan. And I was like, someone should check on Trey, man. You know? That's
You
wild.
talk to Trey still fairly often? I mean, is he holding in there? We're all very concerned, right? He's doing good. He's handling everything all right.
Let's do a video check it. Let's drop in on him right now.
Do it.
You just got everyone watching so excited.
Dude.
FaceTime him. Give him a call.
I have to change my
Give him a quick
shirt if that's going to
FaceTime.
happen.
Let's see how many we can
t-shirt
get
for
the.
Tom.
Let's see how many we can get the live watchers up to in 5 minutes. We're calling
Trey's coming in
Trey.
5 minutes. Exactly. 5 minutes. Tell your friends.
My first question for Trey would be, Trey, what happened to Epitaph and why wasn't it on Sigma Oasis? And I don't want to
You
be
want
awkward
to just
about
go
it.
right there.
Well, I
Right
want to
there.
bring it up with Tom because for me personally, I've been hearing about this and excited about this because first Steam and then Thread are, no lie, two of my favorite 3.0 songs and maybe two of my favorite Phish songs. Like I've just really lyrically, musically, I love them. And I've been very excited for Epitaph. And I was very much expecting that would be part of this album and only to find out it wasn't. And I'm sure that you're a fan of the song, right? Were you disappointed or surprised when you found out that it wasn't going to make the cut for this album?
Yeah, I don't know if it was common knowledge that they did record it, but they didn't.
No, I didn't know how close it got.
Yeah, it got really, really close, which would have been like Steam, Thread, Epitaph on one album is what I was really, really excited about. And you know, I was really bummed out when Epitaph to me in a way I feel is the best of all of them. And but I am happy about the attention Thread received because Thread was played only 3 times, I believe, live. And I think it was largely ignored. People were like, it's a little too complicated to.
It's hard to pull off live. I think that it
Yeah.
really can appreciate it now in the studio version.
Yeah, and I think if once it sort of settles in, kind of like time turns elastic, it took a few listens. I think Thread, after a few listens, people will be psyched to see what they do with it live.
Agreed.
So I'm kind of glad about that, but I was bummed out about Epitaph. But now that the grand slam, well, actually, the analogy doesn't work because it's only 3 phases.
Yeah.
The trilogy. The trilogy.
The trilogy, though, the original trilogy.
But the finale of the trilogy, I guess we'll have to wait. A hockey.
Hat-trick is good.
Hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, sports talk. Woo!
So it'll have to come out some other time, and hopefully they do something special with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the next
Like open the
album or
tour with
something.
it. Like open the tour with it.
Because that hasn't debuted, right? I don't think that's actually even been played. I just know of it theoretically, but I have no idea what it sounds like or what the lyrics are. I just know of it as the third part of the trilogy.
It really rocks. It's really good. It's amazing. And yes, it's the third part of the trilogy. So the reason there is a trilogy at all is Steam, when Steam came out, and that came out, by the way, I think before Game of Thrones, even though everyone says it's Game of Thronesy, it was more like Lord of
Leading
the
Way.
More like Lord of the
Lord of
Rings.
the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not Dark Tower by Stephen King. I haven't read it, so it can't be.
Are you guys Are you and Trey Tolkien fans? Like, because the
I
whole
am.
Gamehenge thing. Yeah.
I am. He's more Narnia. I think that was Gamehenge, more Narnia,
Sure.
maybe.
Oh.
But so with Steam, people would come up to me and say, "That's great. What happens next?" And I would be like, "What do you mean? That's it? That song? That's the song. That's what you get." And then I started looking at the lyrics and realized, oh, there's a whole lot of this leads in both directions. How did they get here, and what happens afterwards? So that's sort of the impetus for the trilogy to have.
And Thread's the prequel.
No. Thread comes directly after Steam, but Epitaph actually. Epitaph becomes a prequel.
Yeah, man, I can't
Star
wait to
Wars.
hear that.
Yeah,
Star Wars. There you go.
That's what they're doing, though. They're doing like the whole Marvel Star Wars thing. They're like, you know about it, right? The like hardcore fans are anticipating, but you're gonna have to wait another year.
Yeah, can you hum it, or can you give us a couple lyrics?
or just DM it to us because we're all cool. Like,
I
you know,
promise we
yeah,
won't
I mean, you have a
share.
recording of it somewhere.
Hum a few bars.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. This is highly illegal. Let me see if I can do this.
Oh,
You don't pay.
nice. We love you. That's
Make sure this is recording.
I just muted Kevin. I'm sorry, but I didn't want to miss Tom humming. I'm sorry.
Let me see here. Oh man, I don't know if I can make it happen.
Yeah, you can. Come on, Tom. We're rooting for you.
What if you do it in
Can you hear? Can you hear that?
No.
Can you hear that? I hear it in my ears.
Oh, Zoom and your stupid technology. You're messing this up for me.
Sorry. I wanted to
That's
play
all
the
right.
intro. I wanted to play the intro too, but I cannot.
That's
all right. Well, you know what? We'll wait like everybody else.
Yeah. Or we can hum what we think.
I know. All right, I get an idea. My phone into this mic. How about
Hell
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll just
Everybody
do
else mute.
the
All
very,
right,
very,
mute.
the very, very beginning. Trey, don't get too mad at me. Let's see here.
Best drama ever.
That's all I dare do. I'll get punished.
I love you,
severely.
Tom
Can I just speak for
Marshall. Thomas
everybody and
Marshall.
just say,
Oh my
fuck
God.
yeah, that was
Oh my
awesome.
God.
That was awesome. That
was even
beats
better
the
than I
goats.
expected.
That tops the goats, Tom. Thank you.
But
That
that
tops the
also speaks to what an insanely good album Sigma Oasis is, right? Like they
That's so
recorded
good.
it was that close, and it's
Right.
obviously has all of this going for it, but it doesn't make the cut because they took this album very seriously. And I know they take every album seriously, but I don't know if they do, right? I feel like Sigma Oasis they actually took seriously, and like that's how good of an album it is. You have something like that, and they're still like, nope. It's not ready. We have all
Well,
these other songs.
Mercury's not on Big Boat, right? Like they cut out Mercury out of Big Boat, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many great songs that end up just not making it to that level. And again, it just goes to show you the catalog and the amazing songs there. But
Yep. And there's some magic in putting songs together on an album that I am not cognizant of, that they are good at. You know, they feel, you know, this song has to come after this song, has to come after the order, the sequence, all that stuff. It's part, you know, it's kind of like set list magic, which I also don't understand. And for whatever reason, I guess Epitaph had no either place, or else it wasn't good enough. And I don't know which of those two it was.
I'm
That
glad you
is
brought
good
up
enough.
Mercury, fan, because I was one of the many people I think that was upset when Mercury didn't make Big Boat. But now that it's on Sigma Oasis, I'm kind of glad it wasn't on Big Boat. Like I like Big Boat. There's songs on it that I enjoy, but I feel like it really fits well in Sigma Oasis. And I feel like that
Great
album wouldn't be the same without it. And as amazing as it would be to have Epitaph with the other two, maybe the next album they have, it's going to fit perfectly and you're going to need it in that spot, whatever spot it ends up in. So I don't know. Maybe that it's cool to have that hindsight ahead of time. Maybe that's what, you know.
I know where it's going to wind up. It's going to wind up in the Epitaph spot.
There you go.
Ba-dum-bum.
Hey, Tom, I'm going to ask the big question here because we were talking about it before you got on, and if you were watching, and you might have a little bit better insight into this than we do. What are the what are the odds of us getting a barn show?
Oh, didn't Brian write about that?
He did, and I'm wondering if you maybe have a little bit of, you know.
I mean, I agree with everything Brian said as to the logistics and people probably infecting each other and not being able to follow the COVID rules and quarantine rules and all that stuff. I also agree with, I think Pete said, if anyone can do it, Phish can do it. Goose is kind of doing it, as you guys were mentioning. I don't know. I would be happy to see something that's just unreleased, right? Maybe something from the barn, maybe the taping of some jams or something. That would be kind of cool and wouldn't violate any quarantine type laws. But I feel if they can and when they can, we're going to be seeing Phish live, probably in this format before going to a show. I feel.
Do you think they have the desire to do it? That was the second question.
Oh, not having the audience feedback?
Right.
Yeah, because that's such a big part of what they do.
True. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. They could exactly, that might be something that's such an integral part of playing live for them that they wouldn't be able to do it without. You're right. I don't know.
They could just send us
yeah.
a Zoom link. I mean, they could just send us a Zoom link. We'll Zoom
And we'll be
in,
like,
we'll watch them. Yeah, it'll be awesome.
They have to go more stage show like American Utopia, or Trey did the whole Broadway thing.
Yeah.
They need to do a stage thing and write a whole new piece. There you
Yeah,
go.
Tom,
There's a
get on
job
it.
for
Tom,
you.
write a whole Tom, get on it, man. Write a whole new piece.
Conversely,
Steam Thread Epitaph, but the Broadway version.
There you go. Very nice. There you go.
That would be a scary musical.
I would
Yeah.
love it.
It's like Wicked on acid.
that'll be the headline on the poster. Wicked on acid.
I thought you're supposed to take acid at Wicked anyway. You guys don't. No.
Oh no, yeah, no, I'm with you.
Man, I had a whole nother train of thought that I wanted to go down, but
And
Wicked
it
on acid
crashed.
just
You have
crashed
to
into
you have to
that.
start
lot.
Dark Side of the Moon right when Wicked starts, and then you drop, and then it works perfect. I think I've heard. I don't know.
It's all downhill from there.
I don't know what you're hearing, man. I think you're getting your I think you're mixing it up a little bit. Yeah.
I think we're all so hungry though for like, even when they had the Sigma Oasis announcement, it was very simple, right? It was just the four of them, like this format, joking around. That was such a highlight of this whole quarantine thing. Like, I think anything they do, whatever they wanted to do, the love and adoration from the fan base would be there. And I mean, I think there has to be something. They're gonna do something at some point.
It firmly cemented Sigma Oasis into but also my family's heads as the soundtrack for quarantine.
Oh.
And I'm glad that it's there. You know, whenever I think about quarantine, I'll think about Sigma Oasis, which is a cool thing. That experience was amazing. I think it was what we needed as a fan base right then. It's just perfect.
And it connected us, right? Like, I think that it happens outside of Phish, but like that was the closest I felt with the community and the band in a not Big Cypress or whatever, but like just the whole community, not just the people that could make it to a show, right? Like, I feel like that was the closest we all got together for this one thing, right? And I just kept visualizing people watching the slideshow in their living room, listening to music for the first time, all of us in this same, situation together. So powerful.
Even the people on Fantasy Tour were nice to each other for 3 hours.
That was it was the best received album too, right? Like, albums always get that initial pushback, and then later on they're like, oh, it's not so bad, I like it. But right from the bat, everybody's like, this is a great album.
They nailed it with that one. They did. And there was, one thing, there was no Goofy Fishman song on it anywhere, which made it a completely different thing.
You were waiting for a ficus, weren't you?
There always is something lengthwise. I mean, I thought lengthwise was brilliant on Rift. It fit in perfectly with the rest of the, arc that goes through it. So, but without that, it became a whole nother thing that Phish was doing. They finally, they stopped doing the Fishman tunes in 97, 98 every night. Now they've shedded that. They've become
they're still like ass-handed, and I mean, Phish is still Phish, but it's cool that they spared it on the album because it makes the album a little more legitimate.
Well,
like, I don't want to get rid of the humor.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I do think there was some thought that went into this album that didn't kind of, or maybe didn't go in as much to the other ones. There was something to me possibly missing from Big Boat and Fuego that Sigma Oasis has. It's a great album. I love it. It's amazing.
You seem like someone who obviously, or you don't seem like someone, you are someone who's in the community, right? Like,
Sure.
you like read the comments in that retrospect. Do you think that
you're on the lot?
Like, there was I think I saw like Fishman or someone like read the comments on the YouTube stream for Sigma Oasis. Like, does the band get that feedback in real time when the fan base is freaking out about a new album, or are they kind of like in their band world and they're just,
I know specifically that Trey, I think Mike is the most plugged in. I think
sort of seems outwardly, at least.
Specifically, Trey does the opposite. He wants to be unplugged from reaction, and he'll get catered reactions sent to him. Like if something safe and cool, all of a sudden he'll send me something that I haven't seen. So I have a feeling like Patrick, who's the de facto Phish manager, sends Trey cool things that Trey needs to see. like a cover of Gaiuti done by a percussion band or something like that. But as for like sitting on the internet and looking at Reddit at people's reactions, I think that would do more harm than good.
Yeah, don't show Trey Reddit, dude. Whatever we
yeah. Don't even
Or
let him know what that is.
or the bracket melts. That's something that always goes through my mind every time we do these brackets every year. My first thought is, God, I hope Trey's not looking at this, because like even you for that matter, it's like we're just nobody's.
I'm immune to it. I'm immune. I've been on since the Fishbowl in AOL, so I've seen some horrible things about Tom's lyrics. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I don't think Trey needs to see a lot of the stuff that happens these days.
When I was a young Phish buck, if I would have known that Tom Marshall was lurking in the Fishbowl on AOL, I probably would have like freaked out a little bit more.
I was Jesmond.
Oh, I know you.
You were the one mad about that Axel Latu lyrics. I remember that. Yeah, it's like, what is this nonsense?
Very, very. Very angry. Let's clean up Axilla and make it better.
Gee, you had a question?
Yeah, there's a chat question actually for Tom, and I'm gonna play off of it. Brian T wants to know, what's your favorite show to re-listen to? But on that note, what would be a show that you would like to see for dinner and a movie?
Oh man.
He's not good with dates.
I'm not good with the library. I will say they should. Well, anything pre-2000 would be really cool. I love the 97 and the 95. I would like to see some like one day or one set from a festival. Like there was like a cool acoustic set at the Clifford Ball I've never seen since. And then they did some cool stuff at the Great Went. I would like to see. Maybe they could recycle one of those, because I know they were filming those.
Was the Tower Jam ever released? Is that on the IT DVD?
Probably.
I think there are parts.
Like,
of it.
I
know
have no
there's.
fucking
I know. I
idea.
was gonna say there are parts of it on the IT DVD because we pulled some of that for our mics.
No, we didn't. No, we did not.
Well,
Reese has got the DVD right there, and he's asking Tom Marshall, just look at the set list.
There it
is.
is.
On there?
Tower Jam.
It's not on there. It should
boo.
Yeah, I think it was on there.
Yeah. All right. That's my answer.
There's just highlights of it.
The Tower set.
And the 2.0 hasn't been represented yet. You've had all the 3.0, and you've had 1.0 shows now. I would love to see. They're all going to make fun of me because I'm the 2.0 guy, but
we're not making fun.
I think that's a valid, because I wonder though if there's like emotions, right? Like maybe I'm projecting on it, but like if that's would be, because the way it's working, right? Each band member is cycling who chooses a show. That's my understanding of it, right? Like each week, a different band member chooses a show for dinner and a movie. I wonder if there's like hard feelings or emotions associated with 2.0 that they just don't look fondly on it or want to go back to it. I don't know. But I would personally, I agree. I would love to hear some 2.0.
I definitely would. I mean, if you think of 2.0 as Round Room and Undermine, I love those albums a lot. And they were playing those songs heavily in 2.0. And I could totally use a 2.0 show.
Yeah, and when they came back on 3.0, they had Joy right out of the gate, right? Ready to launch, and they were number line every show, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. Like, it was great, the energy, but I feel like a lot of those 2.0 songs, I'll try to get away from the numbering, but like the Round Room, Undermined songs never got to fully be realized or kind of got lost to history.
They did. They kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, and Phish was on a rocket ride into the future, and they're still
very, very purposefully, right? Like and it's even I love that you said rocket, because now with Ghost of the Forest and Cosmod Fox and Sigma Oasis, it's like it feels like exponential growth. It's just
that's my outdoor venue answer. The Greek at the Berkeley.
Exponential growth.
Saw Phish there in 2010. The three show run.
I was there. Yes.
And it was amazing. And then 2019, I just saw Ghost of the Forest, and it reminded me of that.
The Greek is Yeah, just so gorgeous. That lawn is one of the steepest lawns, though. If you end up on the lawn, you are definitely doing like some serious calf workout.
And
but,
if it rains, which it usually does
An
there.
Alpine.
Like, I saw Radiohead there in the rain, and it's sliding. But it's a
What
great venue.
gorgeous-
Beautiful venue.
gorgeous.
Alpine has quite a hill too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
we-
Tom, have you
Tom,
slept?
Tom, where do you think Fuego falls? It's going to be 6 years old tomorrow.
Happy birthday,
Falls
Flago.
where?
Falls where? What do you mean?
Within your catalog of Phish albums.
You're
How
not
does
asking
somebody-
Tom Marshall to rank, are you?
No, I will. I can do that. Right now, Sigma, I'm a present and forward guy as well. Like I like the current stuff. So like right now, Sigma Oasis is my entire view. But prior to that, it would probably have been Billy Breathes and Rift, and then Ghost. So the one you mentioned would be sort of further below.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just asking because I know that it's 6 years tomorrow because I'm tweeting about it. That's
I am so happy. I agree 100% with Tom Marshall's rankings. I am so happy that that lined up perfectly.
Billy Breeze was in the same house that you spoke about earlier, Trey's first house.
Billy Breathes. Well, we wrote a bunch of that. Yeah, I think he was probably living in that first house, and then we went on a songwriting trip to the Cayman Islands, and that's why there's sort of like a water theme, theme from the bottom, and that one we had everything was recorded on a Sony. Trey had a Sony Walkman with a stereo mic, and we had bongos with us, and he had a Martin Backpacker guitar, and that was it, and everything else we sort of just cobbled from the hotel room or whatever we were in. And I do remember we were like, be careful with that tape. It had all our, it had everything on it. And
gold.
Be careful with that tape. And for whatever reason, rather than be careful with that tape, should have meant let Tom take care of the tape. And it somehow wound up in Trey's leather jacket, and it was about 98 degrees.
Oh no.
And so right as we were like leaving to get on the plane, we stopped in our rental car to get some food, and I think he put his jacket like over the chair, and we were eating, and then we left and we drove, and I'm like, where's the tape? And he's like, full U-turn. We went back.
Oh, man.
It was right there, but we almost lost all, we would have lost Waste, we would have lost Theme from the Bottom. And like all that blob, that jamming stuff at the end
of the album.
All that, that sort of would have been gone.
That would have been
And you would have
tragic.
lost
Yeah.
a great leather. I don't think Trey wears leather jackets anymore. You would have
Yeah.
lost that.
Yeah, we
I
would have
don't
lost
think
the
anybody
jacket.
You know what? If you would have lost those two songs, you would have lost a fan too. I would have just been out. I would have been like, no Theme from the Bottom, no Waste. I'm out.
You don't even know what you haven't heard yet, though, right? Like with Trey, and there might be songs that we don't even know. Well, Epitaph, right? Like we just got a tease
Right.
of that.
Hey Tom, I wanted to ask you that.
Hey, Tom.
How much? Thank you. How much songwriting do you do with the other guys in the band? Any at all? Like direct work?
No, I would say apart from Phish, which was only when Trey, me, and Phish were in the same room, 0.0. And not, it's only because we don't hang that much. We don't know each other super duper well enough to write a song together. I think Paige a long time ago said, can you give me some lyrics? And I believe I did. I'm not sure if anything ever happened, but we've never written together in the same room.
You ever tell Kuroda to put like purple on Waste?
I did not.
Giving
I
notes to
have not.
Kuroda.
This is a red song.
When I wrote this, I had purple in my mind. You gotta
Yeah,
go
come
purple
on,
here.
man. That's
Man, you guys just lightning around the shit out of this.
No,
and now it's like we're all take a deep breath.
Yeah, that's
was
interesting.
intense.
Tom, you're the man. Thank you so much. This is
Whoa.
just
Let's not do the
fantastic.
wrap up just yet.
No, I'm
No,
not
we
wrapping
have-
up. I'm just saying thank you to him that he's knocking it out of the
What
park
are you
with all our
doing?
nonsense.
We have 40 minutes to kill. Don't
Whoa,
chase
wait.
him away.
Someone
You don't
told me I
have to
had to
hang
say hello to a special person who's watching, and that's
Okay.
her name is Evie Joy. Is that right?
Oh,
See me, Joy.
Hey, Evie Joy.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
So
That's
can
awesome.
I ask you what happened to the wordsmith contest before Curveball? Was
Kevin,
that
you
song
couldn't let me
ever
have
written?
that moment for a second longer.
Really, just 1 second.
Tom
longer,
Marshall,
like-
one of my heroes, just shouted out to my daughter, and you were asking about an Osiris contest. We'll ask the question; it's valid, but just give me a second more of that.
I'm gonna
Come
go away.
on.
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm
Evie
sorry.
Joy, yay! Shout out.
Awesome. I saw a video of her watching you guys on TV, so I thought it would be nice to say hello. As far as that
That's awesome.
contest, yeah, we went through, kind of funny. We did that contest, and then we heard from our lawyer that we did it wrong, and we had to go back and ask everyone who contributed, embarrassingly, to sign something, and it was just like a clusterfuck. We were like really like. We were bummed out that we had to do that to our fine fans.
I
And
signed.
so- you did? A lot of people did not. They were like, fuck this. This is like really,
I
really
think what
lame.
Kevin's getting at is why didn't you choose his poem?
Oh.
Right,
Not
Kevin?
at all. I want to know what happened if the song existed, if it ever actually came to fruition.
Well, so if we do it again, which we're talking about, we're going to do it right this time. And then a song will happen from it. But there's something, I don't quite remember there's an arcane thing that would have left us exposed to something wacky that I didn't like, and our lawyer
It's a
said,
fascinating way to write a song. Well, I guess like Cavern was.
No, I loved it,
back
and I thought
forth.
it was so pure, and I thought the answers were amazing, and I really do think the one that won was so good. I just like, it blew me away. I don't know if I've ever met the person who won, but it was.
Did you guys all submit to I did. So
Yeah, I did too, and I
we
was
should
pissed.
we should reread our lyrics and let Tom pick a winner.
Oh,
I don't think I have them ready. No, I remember
do
thinking.
Do it.
It's
Do
like
it.
I remember-
Fish slam poetry happening right now, like Def Jam poetry.
I found mine in my Gmail. I got
We'll
it.
bring them on to the next episode of the lot so you guys can return, right? Bring back viewers. No, I remember thinking kind of disappointed, like, oh, I can't believe they chose that. And then I read who you did choose, and I was like, wow, I'm terrible at this. Like, those are way better lyrics than what I wrote.
Well, I will say there were some that had like the spirit of it and the sort of the atmosphere down and nailed it, but failed on the meter, which I'm a stickler for. Like if it's like da 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 da, if you don't answer with da 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 da, you're out. And I don't think a lot of people who don't write or read poetry don't know about that at all. So they're just writing shit down. Some of it was great, but it didn't match. And so I'm sorry, a lot of that wound up on the cutting room floor.
The prosody of
the meter.
Right.
Tom, to go back to my earlier point about memorizing your lyrics, I think you just nailed it of why I do, is because you stick to that.
I do. I try to not break that rule that often. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it so much easier to memorize.
And so when I write something like that, it'll be this like rule following, stanzas of 4, all following the same rule and the same rhyme scheme. And then Trey loves to just like take 3 and just use those and not use the 4th. And like, I'll be like, when's that 4th on?
You bastard.
But then it turns into such an amazing song. So he doesn't mind breaking the rules. And I'm happy that when it initially was written, I followed the rules. So the universe is still whole.
Well, I feel like you need to follow the rules to give him something that he can break the rules with, right? Like you can't start chaotic. You give him something that has that structure to it, and then he can manipulate it a little bit.
I think so. Or I have to follow the rules to get it out of my head correctly.
Do you have things floating around? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot to do things specifically, but how often is that a common thing? Is it like 24/7, 365? You have thoughts in your head right now that you're going to have to write out later?
No, but the advent of a phone. So I'll be walking, and I think the rhythm of walking, sometimes, I'll have headphones in, music will be on, or a podcast. Lately, obviously, last 3 years, a podcast. And all of a sudden I'll just turn the podcast off and realize I have something just from the rhythm of walking, and I'll put it into my voice recorder, and then that often becomes something. So I think it's like it's like a rhythmic thing, or I'm not sure. And it could be from a previous conversation or something I've read.
I wonder how much, this is very meta, but I wonder how the pace of your walking correlates to the final product. Like if you're having a lackadaisical day and just boop, you know, if that turns into like a kind of a chill ballad, or if you're like high energy, if that turns into one of those ragers,
That's
right?
one
Like
of the,
just
yeah,
some
well,
energy.
that's one of the things that the writing of the lyrics is decoupled often from Trey's interpretation of it. So
Right.
yeah, in other words, like I told the Wedge. I wrote the Wedge to a Neil Young song called Pocahontas, which is Marlon Brando, Pocahontas, and me. And I did Take the Highway to the Great Divide. And
Right.
and so I'd written it exactly kind of to his song, because that song was in my head, gave Trey those lyrics, but of course didn't say that to him until after he had written the song. So it's decoupled.
Right, which is cool because it gives him that flexibility to do what he prefers it that way, do you think? Or do you sometimes give him
I
your
write.
music?
Yeah, sometimes he'll say, you know, he'll have a groove going and he'll say, you know, step up to the mic and sing something to this. And then, you know, then I get to choose the melody.
That's awesome. That's
So
so cool to have that like partner for the creative angst, right? Like creative people, I think, just have this natural angst where they have to keep creating. And you guys found each other to where like it's very supportive and escalates things in a very positive way, right?
Yeah,
And I it's cool. I think that's part of the reason it's so fun to watch and so fun to be a fan of it, is like you're just seeing this creative process explode, right? You feed to each other, and I think
Trey,
that's a role
Trey makes
that
it
you
easy.
fill.
Well, thank you. Trey makes it really easy because, you know, I can say, like, as we're writing, I can say, now I hear it go like da 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 da, and then he just immediately plays it. Whereas I've written with
right.
other people, that's not like a skill that everybody has. You know, they can't just immediately know those like 4 chords in da 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 da. But he knows exactly.
He can play it as easy as you can sing it.
Yeah.
All right, Chad.
I just wrote a song with Tom Marshall. I'm awesome.
Great.
You sound like Hunter talking about writing with Garcia. How easy he made it. I give him a bunch of lyrics. He either sets them or he doesn't. I know what's going on with it.
Trey makes it really easy. Plus, he's a fun person to be in a room with. He's endlessly fun. He's just tremendously bright person. You know, it's so fun. Our songwriting sessions we both look forward to enormously. It's like the highlight of our lives.
Well, this is going to sound silly, but we did a little hot dog, flying hot dog cartoon on Wook Plus, and we made it it was a kid's story. And when I was doing Trey's voice, I just thought to myself, just be happy, be joyful, be, excited, be just like, and that's Trey, he just seems to be like,
you nailed it. It sounded just like Trey.
It was weird. Like, I was just like, just have that like energy, like, and he just has it. It's an incredible thing, Now I had to pretend to have it. Trey just has it, right?
He really does. He really does.
Yep. Sorry, Trav.
Do you no, I was just gonna ask Tom, like, because I know when I'm like scripting or coming up with edit ideas or whatever, and I get in the, like, sometimes it's hard to come up with things in the moment. Like for inspiration wise, I always find when I take a shower, for whatever reason, my best ideas come to me in the shower or when I walk my dog. Do you have a place like that or a thing like that where you find where you're most creative, or when you like where you find inspiration from, or like when it hits you?
No question. Two answers to that. One is I walk 4 to 5 miles a day, and that, like, because it's alone, there's a lot of like whirling. Right. And then the other is at night, late. I'm a night owl, and when everyone's gone to sleep, that's kind of like suddenly that's like fertile ground for creation. So
are you on headphones when you're walking, or are you listening to just you're listening to podcast or music or
because my job now, Osiris, is podcast.
Right.
I have to listen to, 20 podcasts a month.
So is that your full-time gig? It's actually a perfect transition because I really wanted to touch base on Osiris and what's going on with all of that. Is that a full-time gig now? Is that like what you consider your full-time job is Osiris?
Yeah, well, I'm a lyricist too, but
Well,
We've heard.
Yes, that's my full time.
all right, outside of lyric writing, being a lyricist.
I was just.
Oh, you write lyrics?
I was just
Wow.
being a dick. Yes. Osiris right now is we're doing great. We took like a 20% listening hit in our. We're on a path. I think we were getting very close to 300,000 listeners per month. We have 35 podcasts. We're creating new podcasts all the time. And then COVID hit and everyone thought, oh, listenership is going to go up, right? Because no, it went down. And I think it was as people's, schedules were disrupted. It took a while.
Commute, I used to listen to.
You got your kids sitting there in the kitchen. I think Spotify had the same challenges, right? Like they just kind of got tanked with that.
Yeah. So we probably lost close to 20% of listenership, but we're back up 15. So now we're like 5% down. But we are on a march to 300,000, and our goal is 1 million listeners by 2021. And we're creating a lot of new stuff. We have 8 people in our team. So Osiris is it's a real beast right now, and we're kicking butt. We love it.
And you're fairly aggressive about it too. I mean, you've been bringing in a lot of new content, right? RJ with his new program just launched, right? The live, past, present, future live, right?
Yes. Yep. And we had Eric Krasno as the first guest on that, and this current one is Marco Benevento. And the cool thing about it is the live. It's not been done before in podcasts. It's like we learn about the artists' past, present, and their future. Who do they want to collaborate with, or is there unreleased music you can play us? But then they play exclusively like 3 or 4 tracks live right there for the podcast, and it's really
and then
cool.
even Eric Krasno even has his own show now too, right?
So he's got Eric Krasno plus one, and Questlove was just on his new podcast, but he's a monster. He's had Dave Matthews, Derek Trucks, John Scofield, John Mayer, Chris Robinson. He's amazing.
So Tom, are you like acting as a creative director? Like, are you designing the curriculum, so to speak?
Not so much. I thought at one point that I would be, but there's people now in our team that are very much more capable. So I'm focusing on Under the Scales. But RJB, my co-founder, we met at the Mann lot, not in the show that's about to happen 1 year later. The show that's about to happen tonight, or that could be happening very soon. 1 year later, Osiris was formed in the Mann Music Center parking lot with RJB. So he's the CEO, but we have program directors now, executive producers who are really good at that stuff. But I'm focusing hard on Under the Scales. And I was also focusing on the live stuff, which took a little pause.
The only reason I asked is because every show you mentioned sounded like something you would have come up with.
Oh, thanks.
Like it sounds like right in line with like what your vision would have been. So.
Well, I do have a vote, so I voted yes on that.
Okay.
How far does the Osiris universe go out? Like, are you pushing boundaries? Are you taking podcasts where they've never been before?
So we right now have a music, there's a music through line in every one of our podcasts. We probably have, if you count even the one-offs, 35 or 36 podcasts. Like we did a David Crosby podcast that only had 4 episodes, but that's still getting heavy listens. So there's a couple like the one that we did on Big Cypress After Midnight. That's still getting a lot of listens.
So good.
That's legendary. Legendary.
I think
that piece of material right there, I've never that was just basically hitting, play on a rewind of that whole experience, and bless you for that, and Osiris for that, because what a deal.
I felt the same way.
I think we're gonna have Benji on the show. I reached out to him. I think he's interested in coming on to the lot. Yeah, he wrote a large part of After Midnight, I think. Benji Eisen.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't write that specific. Benji is going to be. We were talking about doing possibly something about Red Rocks with Benji, or a couple other things. But Benji, we talk with Benji all the time. He's such a creative guy, and we can't wait to have him in Osiris.
Would you do podcasts for like Coventry or like the other like I would listen the hell out of any of those festivals, just like to relive them, the good and the bad,
We do have something called Festival Circuit, which RJ is a big part of the creation team there, and he just got finished interviewing I mean, it had to be 25 people for starting with the Jazz Fest. So we're going to focus on different festivals. So that'll get part ways there, maybe. Just, whether or not we focus on a Phish festival. We had, our relationship with Phish it's complicated. First, because of my relationship. So when I ask for stuff, am I Osiris or am I Tom? Am I Trey's friend or am I? And they have to school me, like, don't do this, meaning like, don't just call John Fishman and ask him to be on Under the Scales. You got to go through management. It's little things.
Right, you can do that with Trey, but you can't necessarily do that with the other guys.
Right.
Which maybe that's why Trey's been on Under the Scales twice, and the other guys have. Well, Mike was on. That was actually Paige and Phish haven't been yet.
Not yet. But I was sort of simplifying the problems or the complicated nature of my relationship with Red Light Management and Osiris's relationship with Red Light Management, which are two different things that we have to cope with. So whether or not we do a Phish festival again, it was hard. It was pretty hard to do. I mean, they're very cooperative and they love how many fans are tuning in. We're almost like a free advertisement for Phish in a way. So they like it. They like it when it works, but they don't want us to do, they don't want us to cross certain lines.
Sure,
and I think a Coventry podcast would have to go deep into some of the bad stuff.
And they wouldn't want us to go there necessarily. So exactly. Fair. So that might be someone else has to do that.
Maybe Wook Plus can look.
Maybe we'll do it. Yeah, just like we just jumped. Me and Wook just jumped on it. We're like, yes.
I mean, Osiris is obviously
blood in the water.
I'm already
Osiris is obviously on our radar, right? Like it's on everybody's radar. Wook Plus is kind of like the Diet Coke or the B-list version of it, but
the
RC.
Well, we could start here with our Tom Marshall interview on his Coventry experience. How was Coventry for you, Tom?
It was not good. I didn't have a good time at all. I found
no one did.
Yeah,
I did. I had a great time.
Well, Chad, you are one in a million.
I flew in with the band, but I left on my own. I was just like, yeah. But I actually went out on stage. I think I did an Antelope or something.
You did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's my record in terms of appearing in front of people. I think 75,000.
Oh yeah. Hey, yeah.
75,000 crying fans.
I was in the about 572nd row throwing the horns in the air when you were singing Antelope.
I saw you.
I know you did. You looked at me. I knew you were looking right at me. Man.
Oh, that's Chad.
Yeah, I knew that someday we would write a song together. I just knew it.
Until halfway through Born to Run, I thought Bruce Springsteen was on the stage. You did such a good job that year in Jersey.
Thanks, man. That ruined that concert for me, that particular show for me, because I was backstage the whole time trying to learn a song that I thought I knew. You've heard that song, 700 times in your life?
And you don't know it.
Nobody knows that song.
Nobody knows it.
I defy you to sing those lyrics.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You even got the countdown right.
Yeah.
The number part. You even nailed that.
The highways. Yeah.
Bruce is a pro. Bruce, you can't just emulate Bruce very easily.
You can't just be Bruce. Plus I think I've gone on record enough about this that I don't need to tell the whole story, but the backstage crew was mad at me from trespassing up in the rafters the night before. And I almost got in trouble. Brad saved me. I had to jump out in the audience, like do a stage jump to get away from angry crew. And the next night they seated the crowd with the fact that Bruce Springsteen had a night off at the Meadowlands that night, and they're having a special guest. And
they set you up.
They let it travel sort of like the coronavirus backstage. It just spread to the crew. They were the most susceptible. So when I got out of that room, when I opened the door to walk on stage, they had already started playing the down and they had a line of dudes on either side of the, here's Bruce, here you go. Here's how you get to the stage. And it was me. And I came out and they're like, it's that asshole from last night.
Wait, okay. I gotta ask, why were you trespassing in the rafters? What were you doing up there?
So my
You can-
friend Helen and my friend James were next to me, and we turned around and looked. This is the night before. We were standing in the middle of a hot crowd in the middle of PNC Bank Center, which we used to call the Garden State Arts Center, and not having a wonderful experience. And I think it was Helen who said, "Can we watch from up there?" And I'm like, "Sure, Mr. All Access Pass. I can do. I can do
I'm
anything I
Tom
want."
Marsh. I'm Tom Marsh. I
Yeah.
can climb into the rafters.
So the three of us went back there on set break, and what my friend James did not tell me was it's the one thing you don't do. He did, and I mean, this is like, this breaks every single rule of
unions
of
and
stage. No,
right.
it's a specific thing, and it's drop something on stage from above, and he did a water bottle dropped off, and we were like kind of walking. The floor was kind of slats. You had to go across slats and under cables and tension that were under tension, holding up the fucking light rig and all that shit that you don't want to be up there. Really, you could drop shit on people badly. And he dropped a bottle.
Curtis Mayfield.
And it landed right next to a security guy who apparently, James said, because I was ahead of him, looked up and like pointed and told people that we were up there. So they were waiting for us when we came down. Helen is a Wraith, and she just disappeared first. She was amazing.
Wraith?
It seems like it'd be hard for you to disappear, Tom.
James got away by pretending to cooperate and ran. They were smart. By the time I got down, they were ready, and they all grabbed me, like 10 guys. And they were like pulling me toward this door, which led to the back lot. And I think I was probably going to get, curb stomped or something.
Holy shit.
And they're probably going to teach me a lesson, I think. And Brad Sands.
It is Jersey.
Unbelievably just came right in between me and like the biggest guy and said, "What's going on here?" And that instant they sort of relaxed, and I just ran out and jumped into the crowd. You are
a Wook. You
are such a Wook.
What happened to Brad Sands? Did he get his ass beat?
No, he's Brad.
No, it's Brad. Nobody's gonna beat Brad.
It's Jersey, man.
No, he talked him down and got out of there.
Yeah,
it was the perfect decoy.
That's fantastic.
It was unbelievable.
And then the next day you were Bruce Springsteen, and it was amazing.
What a great story. That's awesome.
We talked about our favorite venues. PNC is like my least favorite venue, or Garden State.
Yeah,
I grew up in Jersey.
I like the Mann Music Center. I like the Mann.
I like the Mann. I like the Tweeter and Camden.
Merriweather.
I like Merriweather. I like all the Northeast venues, but
Deer Creek,
PNC,
you East Coast.
All right. But
Merriweather's the real. Merriweather is the real.
Jesus, we heard you. But PNC is a terrible venue. You have to walk across the parkway like 10 miles to get in. The event staff and cops are brutal. I mean, I haven't been there in a couple of years, but they're brutal on the fans.
Not if you know someone.
Well, not for Tom Mark. Unless you climb up in the rafters, and then they're
helicopter. He gets dropped off by a drone. A drone just flies him backstage and
what about
drops him
SPAC?
off.
I feel like the band's always on a boat or something during SPAC.
SPAC?
I like SPAC.
Yeah, I don't know if the band has a special like area back there. I love SPAC. I'm totally audience at SPAC because it's so big and so fun, and I don't go backstage at SPAC. I don't hang with the band at all.
How do you feel about people coming up to you? Because I mean, you're very recognizable, especially I guess with social media and everything. It's like, and then also you're naturally a taller guy, right? And like it's pretty obvious. Anytime you're at a show that I'm at, it's like it's obvious you're there, right? Like your head is above all of the other heads, all the other heads. But I mean, like, does it bother you when people come up? Because I mean, I know you're very gracious, but it has to get annoying at some point. I'd imagine.
Also, how do you feel about tarping?
Two questions, right? Two questions, right?
Yep.
One of them might answer the other. Well, no, it won't. I actually, unless it's like during a song, or unless like I'm trying to go somewhere or I'm talking with someone else, people are incredibly just normal and gracious and fun and awesome. And so far, so good. Like I'd say 99.9% of my interactions with anyone have been awesome and respectful. And the ones where I just have to say, hey, I just want to finish this song, they immediately are cool.
They get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
so
let
good
me
job,
say on that
Phish.
note. Wait, let me just say on that note, you are incredibly kind, and I ran into you pre-show before the Halloween Bowie show. I was in early, and I ran into you back, like we're walking around. You
I
were
was
so
well
nice.
behaved?
Took a picture with me. You even squatted down because I'm a little short and you're quite tall, and you squatted down to get in the front. You were so kind, so polite. I appreciate it. Like it meant the world to me.
Well, you're welcome, but you must not have met Tequila Tom.
No, I think you were relatively sober still
tequila.
at that point.
Okay.
And so
Mexican
was I,
cousin,
so it
Mexican
worked.
cousin.
Before we get to the tarping question, which I want to get to, how tall are you? I don't know this.
6'6".
Holy
Nice.
wow.
Basketball in high school? Anything like that?
No, I played basketball, baseball, and football. I was hoping to play defensive end, but they put me like offensive tackle, which is a weird place for a tall, thin
6'6"?
guy.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, but and then baseball only lasted one season. I was first base though, where you're supposed to be if you're tall. And then basketball, I was just not good at, but gradually realized that volleyball was kind of my thing.
Oh, nice.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, so I played
Like
on
that
a
motherfucker.
yeah, exactly. I played on a rec league for years. I loved it until it
Very nice.
damaged my elbow. So
Just for you, Tim, sports.
Did you have to climb up on the rhombus and pull Trey up onto the rhombus? Could he climb up there himself?
no, Trey is so athletic. He's really incredibly athletic. He's got an amazing,
Really?
amazing sense of balance. He
He's
was a
very
hockey
spry.
player. He's a
a
really
spry
good
guy.
hockey player. Yeah. So there's a kind of a funny story there. There's this guy named Harry Rulon Miller, which any PDS hockey player knows, Princeton Day School, where we all went, who still is in charge, I think, of the rink. And he's old now. He's got to be 85 or something. But he would say to me, and I think he would forget that he told me this the time I saw him before. He would say, "Tom, I just have to tell you, there's two guys that I think could have made it into the pros from PDS. And one of them is your wife's cousin, Carl Erdman, and the other is Trey Anastasio."
He was that good.
I think he was a
Oh,
little,
wow.
I think he was a little powerhouse.
Do you know what was he forward or defense?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
man,
know.
A lot of questions for you, Tom.
Does he have a trophy right
Brian
next
has
to
a
his Heist
trophy.
album?
Brian has a trophy.
Tom,
Rookie of the year.
right here.
Rookie of the year.
No, man, like all the Grammys and Tonys he's won, like replaced all his.
I haven't won those yet.
Fair enough.
I think he made the right choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, Tom, by the way, someone in the chat says that Helen is a wraith and James got away. Sounds like good song lyrics.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
If that's on the next album, man.
Except that implies that I want James more than Helen. Wait, I don't know. I have to think about that.
You know, think
context,
about it
right?
a little
Yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
you know, it's
I'll
in
make
there.
it work. I like
Yeah.
it.
You'd have to end it with, and Tom chose to stay. You know, that's when you got listed.
Oh, and Tom took one for the team,
Tom almost got stomped. That doesn't poetically fit with it.
and Brad saved his life. This is Carini part 2. We already hear we know this story.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this song is not gonna make it on a Phish album anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we got a good start. I think we got a good head start here. See?
Why do you have that whole? Why do you have the hockey? Like, why is it on the hockey rink patch? And what's that big mic rig for?
Well, it's for my podcast.
So I'm going to talk about it because it sounds better when somebody else says it than you talk about yourself. About that, Chad is the executive producer for the Horatio Sands, SNL comedian, actor. He was most recently on the
Black
Mandalorian
Monday.
and Black Monday. So Chad is his producer and hosts a podcast with him.
And so I have a microphone. So if you're looking for more Osiris content, I have a really good microphone in Pro Tools.
That looks
And
expensive.
It is expensive, and I will pawn it. I will pawn it if I have to go to a Phish show right now.
Can you do the hockey sound? It's like bum, bum, bum,
No,
bum,
I'm not a jukebox, man.
Or
I'm
a
not a
jukebox.
jukebox.
I'm a
Okay,
jukebox,
fine,
so-
fine.
I bet if Tom asked, you would have done it instantly.
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 As good as I could do right
Oh,
now.
sports, how I miss you.
Thank you.
Oh, sports, how I
sports.
miss you.
Oh,
that
bad
is-
hot dogs. how I miss you.
Ichiro!
Yeah.
What did they play during Tweezer? Didn't they play some hockey song during Tweezer? Over New
Oh, at
Year's?
MSG this year,
Yep. No, that was in yes, that was during Tweezer. And that was
2019,
not-
but it went into 2020.
no, there was a big
No,
debate
it's,
about that.
no, it's 12:30.
Yeah, it was 12:30 during Tweezer, and a lot of people said it was "Let's Go Blue," right, which is the Michigan State song, I think it is. But when played in Madison Square Garden, it's a Potvin Sucks song. Like they play that during Rangers games, and you go Potvin Sucks, and so everyone in the Phish community that weren't from New York were saying, "Oh, that's Let's Go Blue." No. When you play that at the Garden, there's a historic kind of like thread there, and it's clearly a hockey song. And it's Potvin Sucks.
Huh.
Tom, can you
nice.
clarify something for me? This is
Whoa.
very important.
Not if it's
Trey-
about that.
Trey's not actually a Rangers fan, right? He's still a Flyers fan. It's just
Flyers.
yeah, okay. He lives in New York. Obviously, they have a connection to MSG, Rangers, but he's not a Rangers fan.
He's Flyers.
Yeah.
From what I know.
I hate
so-
both
yeah.
of them. I'm a Devils fan, so screw both of them. But
Hmm.
I just wanted to.
The
Well,
Devils
Trey
were a
did-
bad take. That's a bad.
Trey did play Gloria. Trey did play Gloria for St. Louis Blues when they won the championship in this last thing. Check out Wook Plus.
He's
for-
a hockey man.
Oh,
he is
boy,
a hockey
Matt.
man. Good plug, Matt. Good plug. Check out Wook Plus for the Glory episode.
I might be
All right,
the
I
only
saw
one
one
that doesn't.
hockey game and I was lost. We drank so much beer. I'm lucky I got home that night.
I'm bad at sports. I do like going to live sports, but I'm bad at sports. I can't help you guys on this.
No, Tom, I am too, and I've been trying to tell these guys that this isn't a sports show. And every goddamn episode, they bring up baseball cards and sports talk, and I have lost control entirely. I have no idea
We
what's
have
going on.
a
anymore.
hockey player here tonight, so we can
Cool.
talk sports. It's
Okay.
legitimate.
Well,
we live in a sports
Rookie
world.
of the year.
Wow.
I
Rookie
think
of the year.
wow.
I think I'm gonna take the high road right now. And as much as I love talking to Tom and having Brian on, I think that we're at a really good point. We have 15 minutes. I want to, relax, hit the head before the show. Tom, it's incredible having you on. I hope maybe one day we can do this again or something with Osiris or whatever. But whatever, I really appreciate having you on. It's been amazing to talk to you.
Thank you,
Brian.
guys.
Thank
Tom,
you. I
thank
really
you.
You're very
enjoyed having you
generous
on.
with your time, and thank you for your 40-year catalog of everything we
Everything.
love.
Thanks
Keep
so
writing.
much. Really nice to meet every one of you guys. And Brian, it was a pleasure to be a co-guest on The Lot with you.
And Pete
honor was
down
mine.
there. Pete,
Yes,
who we
thank you,
haven't
Pete.
seen
Thank
for
you,
Yeah,
Brian.
Pete,
Where's
where'd you
Pete?
go, man?
Pete had a meeting.
you,
Pete had to
Tom.
bail. He had a meeting. He said
Okay.
he'd try
Let
to
me
come
say
back, but
this.
he didn't
Thank
make it.
thank God Dave Matthews didn't take Strange Design. Let's just say that as we end.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
And
but
also,
I'll take
also
that.
Trey, if you're watching, hi.
Trey's watch. Does
Yeah.
Trey,
Epitaph,
does
Off the
Trey,
internet,
Epitaph.
man.
Epitaph.
does
Yeah.
Trey know about the brackets?
I'm worried
No,
about
we
my,
went over this. Man.
I'm worried
We
about my
went over this.
emails
All right.
and my phone about the Epitaph thing. We'll see what
Nobody
happens.
watches
Oh,
this.
you
Yeah,
did
you're
We're
good.
not on
fine.
Osiris. This is Wook Plus. Nobody's watching this.
He's never heard of it. You're
Tom,
fine. No,
Tom,
no one's
you
Our
did
watching.
wives
good
will
with
not call
that.
Trey. Our wives will not call Trey. I promise.
You did good, Tom. You did good with that because you gave the world something they never had before, and you put a smile on a lot of people's faces, even if it takes them a couple weeks to find it.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Tom.
Well, I love all of you. Join us next
Nice
week.
meeting
We'll
you,
have some
Brian.
guests. It'll be fun. Tom, thank you. Brian, thank you. Wook Plus. Love you
Thanks a lot.
guys.
We'll be on Twitter for dinner and a movie, just chatting
See
it
you
up.
guys. Everybody have a good night. Have a good show. Love you.
Good night. Bye.